Hello everyone, how's it going? Today we're going to be talking about Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, mostly about Star Trek 2009 and Star Trek Into Darkness, but we're also going to be talking about a bit of Discovery and maybe a bit of Picard, because there is a lot to talk about from both a writing standpoint and a production standpoint. How you doing today, Glib?
Hello. Welcome to the show. I'd like to say hello. Welcome to the show. And I'm really excited to discuss this J.J. Abrams stuff because nothing's more exciting than talking about the deep, complex narratives that J.J. Abrams likes to spend a lot of time thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Very, very
sarcasm
deep
aside,
plot.
yeah, I mean, it's just. I think we should start by playing the TEDx talk. I should have it marked. I wish I. Yeah, give me a sec. I
All
want
right.
to play the TEDx or no, he did a real TED thing because he's famous. So the TED talk where he talks about the mystery box. There's a section in it where he talks about ripping off and how you should rip a movie off. I'm using it in my review, but I think it's very
I get the
key
idea
because
of if you're going to steal from the best, but I don't think J.J. Abrams even stole the important things of what was important.
everybody has a line about stealing, where it's like people say steal from. What's the one from the other side of the wind? Jake Hannaford says like, it's not a problem if we copy each other. It's only a problem if we copy ourselves. So I like
What?
that one. Yeah, something like that. It's
How does that
something
make sense?
like you should never look back the way that I interpreted that was you shouldn't be like looking at your own stuff and then trying to make a replication of that, if you know what I'm saying. Like that
All right.
you shouldn't try to do the same, draw concentric circles. You shouldn't try to do the same thing over and over again. You shouldn't be copying your own material. You should be finding new inspiration and influences. There's a school of thought I think where you could think that all of the ideas that people come up with are inspired by something that they've already seen. Some people might say that the imagination is free and there's like divine influence or something like that. But no matter what you believe, the inspiration or what amount of copying other people's homework is acceptable, I think we can all agree that JJ does it in the trite and derisible way, the way that is annoying to audiences that have a deeper understanding or a quantitatively larger amount of information about a subject that JJ is covering. There's no movie where somebody goes, I love that non-action J.J. Abrams movie, if you get what I'm saying. There's nothing that's not a copy or a ripoff or a facsimile of someone else's work. So I'm going to find that really quick because I have it. I have the like timestamp bookmark. If you can pull it up on YouTube, I know it's on YouTube, but I'll just find that spot in the.
J.J. Abrams
Just look up mystery
TED.
box.
J.J. Abrams TED Talk.
Let me see here.
Right, I've got it up.
Where is it? It should be somewhere like
It's
14
only in
minutes in there, right?
240p.
Yeah, it sucks. I don't think they
What?
like post. I don't. I think it's gotten so much flack that
Why are they?
nobody
Why is it only
wants
uploaded in such low resolution?
because he doesn't. People they're like, shut up about that one. Okay, 12 minutes, and I'd say 25 seconds. Try that.
12 minutes.
Sequels or rip off movies, of a
Oh,
genre.
go
They're
wait,
ripping off the wrong.
stop. Okay, go back 30 seconds and start from there. Like 12. Just start at 12 so you can understand the context. There you go. He thinks this scene is touching. I find
Give
it
us a
creepy.
kiss.
I don't understand why. He's like, this is my favorite scene is the one where the kid kisses
Because I need it.
the older man.
Come on, why? Because I need it. Best scene ever, right?
Best scene ever.
on.
I'm on
So you
cocaine
can-
right now. This guy's clearly on cocaine or something. He's on amphetamine.
Best scene ever.
I haven't seen anybody talk this fast since and nervously since Martin Scorsese was on cocaine. This is crazy.
I just see that scene and I think, what's so fantastic about it?
I don't know. That's what I was saying. It's just I was like, unless I was into that weird vibe that I get sometimes when I'm watching these movies, I'm like, I don't like that. That makes me feel weird.
He
You know what I mean?
does he even describe like why he considers it such a great scene, or is it just simply because his reasoning for why he wanted a kiss is because he needed it?
I know that that scene has some context, but I don't know what the context is in that. I don't remember what movie that is. It's just
Yeah, it's recontextual to fully understand a scene, but he does. I don't. That even gives us context or explanations.
Of Jaws, so that's the kind of stuff that like the investment of character, which is the stuff that really is inside the box. It's why when people like do sequels or rip off movies, of a genre, they're ripping off the wrong thing. You're not supposed to rip off the shark or the monster. You got to rip off, if you're gonna rip something off, rip off the character, rip off the stuff that matters. I mean, look inside yourself and figure out what is inside you, because ultimately, the mystery box.
okay. So stop
is
real
all of
quick.
it. So there's that.
So what I think is there's multiple ways of looking at that. So he says rip off the characters. Don't rip off what was the thing that he said not to rip off?
Don't rip off the shark.
Don't rip off the shark. So don't rip off the exact thing. Even though he later contradicts that. They did Khan again. Remember that?
Yeah.
Star Trek Into Darkness. So he did rip off the shark.
The Death
then,
Star, Force
right.
Awakens.
So he does. He's like, I'm ripping off. So if he is going by his own definitions, he's not following his own definitions. Okay. So he's making the mistake of people that rip off or make remakes. That he is claiming.
And he even ripped off the characters, but
and then
he didn't do it in a substantive way.
The other thing that's happening is that he is saying that the mystery box is whatever's in you. So as a director, you take these things that you like and you rip off the things that you like. You rip off the characters, you rip off whatever's important to the story, and then you fill it in with things that you like. So every time that I watch a J.J. Abrams movie, there's those three things are happening. There's the remake elements that are the things that he likes, that are rip-offs that he finds important. Sorry, those are two different things. The things that he thinks are important to the audience and the movie itself, he rips those things off. Then he rips off the things that he likes, because that's the mystery box, is whatever you imagine it is. So it's whatever you input. And then the last thing I would say would probably be whatever he just wanted to put in it. So he just puts in audio cues and music cues from, what is it? Beastie Boys. And you're like, why are you doing that? It's just because I like it. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I remember watching a clip of the audio commentary for Star Trek 2009, and J.J. Abrams said, are people wondering why we put Beastie Boys in the film? Does it say something about the character? And J.J. Abrams just said, no, I just like the music. Oh, great.
Yeah, that's
Thanks,
it.
JJ. Not even using it in a substantive way, it's just cool music. Which, I get it, it's cool, but it doesn't exactly fit with the style of Star Trek. But then again, the entirety of everything he did didn't really fit with Star Trek at all.
Then the distribution. What's a bigger mystery box than a movie theater? You go to the theater, you're just so excited to see anything. The moment the lights go down is often the best part, and you're full of that amazing, that feeling of excited anticipation. And often the movie's like there and it's going, and then something happens, you go, oh, and then something else, like, and then now when it's a great movie, you're along for the ride because you're willing to give yourself to it. So to me, whether it's that, whether it's a TV, an iPod, computer, cell phone. It's funny. I'm as I said, Apple fanatic. And one day, about a year or so ago, I was signing on online in the morning to watch Steve Jobs' keynote, because I always do. And he came on. He was presenting the video iPod, and what was on the enormous iPod behind him? Lost. I had no idea. And I realized, holy shit, it come full circle. Like, the inspiration that I get from the technology is now using the stuff that I do, inspired by it, to sell the technology. You know what I mean? It was nuts. So I found it. I was going to show you a couple other things.
Wait, he said the movie theater is a mystery box. But I thought the idea of the mystery box is that you don't reveal what's inside. In a movie, you reveal the movie.
Say that again?
he said that earlier, just a few seconds ago. He said that the movie theater is a mystery box, and then didn't really clarify on that and moved on
Oh,
from
right.
it.
Right.
And I was like, but I thought the idea of the mystery box is that the idea of what's inside is more powerful than what is actually inside. So you don't reveal it, or that's JJ's idea that you don't reveal the mystery.
Well, his thing was that he never opened the box, and I think that that's such a telling thing. That just is like there's a weird thing where it's like he stepped up to the plate and he hit a home run, and he didn't know why he hit a home run because it was almost an accident. You know what I mean? He's doing something that is bait for people with ADHD. Just always introducing new things and then delivering things that are precipitated on the idea that there's some sort of arc, but it's so vague. That's why every bad film from him recently has been like a video game where you're chasing object to object. It's like the Rise of Skywalker is just objective. Go to the next objective. And it has the Call of Duty thing where, like, I remember Modern Warfare 2, the first time I played it, I was annoyed because the way that they got out of level transitions was just having the bad guy fly away in a helicopter or something. And that's always what happens in these movies. It's like, how do we get into the scene and then out of the scene, and there's a new thing to chase. Every scene, there's a new thing that's introduced that makes you have to go to the next thing. And it's not like there are breadcrumbs that are leading to paint a bigger picture. It's not like you walk through a maze and then when you get to the end of the maze, you get to see how you walked through the maze. There's nothing cool like that reveals the greater like outlook on anything. Instead, at the end, you get a saturation of action, so that you get like, it's like the idea that if I made music, I would play the same tune over and over again, but for the crescendo, I just turn the volume knob up. And it's just like, well, yeah, this is clearly a crescendo because the volume is getting louder, but you're playing the same tune over and over again. And it's because you're never opening the box and answering what's in the box. If the box is empty, people feel gypped. I mean, that to me is the biggest con in the world. It's like he's standing in front of a bunch of people and he's shuffling around the cups. Like, you know, you ever see one of those like stupid hokey movie tropes where there's like 3 cups and you got to guess where the ball is and there's a trick ball. He's doing one of those, and there's just no ball. And he just expects you to believe that there's a ball underneath the cups that's spinning around. And you lose your money either way. You've already paid for the ticket. So by the time you figure out there's nothing in the box, or he's refusing to open the box, it's too late. And the only reason why you're there is because you got baited in by the brand. I don't think that anybody goes to see a movie anymore because J.J. Abrams is the director on it. Like, that's a good title. That's my problem.
And I think Lord Ra makes a good point. Where did the ship come from? Why were they transporting eggs? Doesn't matter to the crew of the Nostromo. They just need to fight the alien. Yeah, the problem is with the mystery box, though. I agree with the idea that what you can imagine is much more powerful than the answer. But when you are pondering questions and mysteries which are extremely important to the narrative, say in The Force Awakens, you can't just ignore them. You can't just leave those questions unanswered because they're important to telling your story. Why was Rey left on Jakku? Why is she so powerful? This, that, and the other. All these mysteries which J.J. Abrams never intended to follow up on.
What's the bare minimum of a story? Who, what, when, where, why, right? So who is going to be a bunch of people that are going to they're going after the scientific research project that they're trying to do, or a bunch of people that are just day jobbers trying to get their job done, and then the secret thing that's going on. That's who is doing what. And the reason that the why is happening is a mystery slightly, and then it becomes a horror thing. And so you know it's when, it's in the future, and so you have all these answers to all these questions. And a lot of the things that are happening are the answers to questions fit the same logic and the same sensibility as every other piece of the puzzle. With a Ridley Scott movie, there's not really a lot of mystery as to how things are going to pan out based on the information that he gives you. He's very solid about giving you the who, what, when, where, why. The only thing he doesn't like to do is have it directly told to the audience. It has to be experienced through the realism of the scenario. So you get these longer takes, or you get a lot of atmospheric shots. The only things that are kind of out of the ordinary that are stylized are visual aesthetic pieces, like lighting fixtures that are glowing different colors for no reason except for the aesthetic of it, that kind of thing. But with J.J. Abrams, you get a sort of thin veneer of that. Instead, what you're getting is you're getting who is in this scene, what is happening in this scene, and how is it getting to the next scene. The why is usually for something that the audience is supposed to have at a certain point. The why is because this is the moment where you're supposed to cry. This is the moment where the character's supposed to die. Like, those are the rip-off elements, or the elements that are, I need to have this here, or the idea of this is what people expect of this movie. Like, this is the meme. We need to have Khan or Kirk or whatever, and somebody's going to die in the chamber. We have to have that scene because that's part of the rip-off set. But it has to have Beastie Boys because that's what I want in it. You know what I'm saying? And it all has to be branded the certain brand. So it's one of those things where, since there's nothing inside the mystery box, since you're not going to get the who, what, when, where, and why that's going to satisfy some sort of complex structure by the end of the time that you get to the end of the movie, and then you are looking back at it, it's sort of a bait and switch with there's nothing at the end of it. It's not like you're buying a fake of something. It's the idea of the fake of something. That's the thing that bothers me the most about it. It feels like it's almost false filmmaking. Like, you're not really watching a movie. You're watching sort of like a parody of what the movie would actually be. It's like, this is what Star Trek would be like if Star Trek were directed by somebody who only saw those things that JJ is saying. Rip off the characters, rip off the shark, rip off what, and then put in whatever's important to him. And that's not a recipe for success. That's not the only thing that I think that has proven is that there is a segment of the audience, of general audiences, that will see a movie no matter what if it has brand recognition. For some reason, they'll make hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know why, but it's just something that seems to be a constant. Some brand name movie will make an X amount of dollars if it had the same general appeal as the previous. If it's something that is a niche movie and they try and make a blockbuster out of it with the remake, it'll fail, like Blade Runner 2049. It just seems like we don't have the ability to construct something that's greater than what J.J. Abrams is selling, because that works, because Blumhouse works.
Yeah, but if you just going back to what I was talking about before with the mystery box, when it comes to aliens specifically, with all these questions about like the alien eggs, Lord Ryer's right. They're not relevant to the narrative. They're just the kind of the questions which the audience has, and those are the questions which aren't important to answer. And the narrative doesn't keep telling you that the answer to these questions is important because we're focusing on, the alien which is trying to kill the crew. But in The Force Awakens, it is constantly forcing so much attention to these mysteries, like why Rey is so powerful, and they keep pointing out to it. Why can you pilot so good? Or like how she so quickly defeats Kylo, or her parentage. That's something that they point a lot of attention to, and they put a lot of importance on it. So those are the questions which end up having to be answered, but they don't, or at least not to any credible extent.
So the first, okay, let's start. Okay, wait, let's finish this video up because I have some questions that add into to what we're talking about. I feel the thread that we're going to be going through. So let's finish off what JJ has to say, and then let's talk about what is the first point in which JJ starts to go off course of what you think the audience is going to like, of what you think cinema is. And I say that with all the snobbery involved. I mean, what do you think is that makes it that theme park feeling that is sort of hollow? What is it that makes it cheap and feel like it doesn't have the same weight as what it's imitating? So I want to just finish. We don't have to watch the whole video. I just want to get to the end of this kind of statement about it.
Okay.
I just want to show you one other thing that has nothing to do with anything. This is something online. I don't know if you've seen 4 or 5, 6 years ago they did this. This is an online thing done by guys who had some visual effects experience. But the point was that they were doing things that were using these mystery boxes that everyone has now. What I've realized is what my grandfather did for me when I was a kid. everyone has access to now. You don't need to have my grandfather, though you wish you had, but I have to tell you, this is a guy doing stuff on a Quadra 950 computer. The resolution is a little bit low, using Infinity software they stopped making 15 years ago. He's doing stuff that looks as amazing as stuff I've seen, released from Hollywood. The most incredible sort of mystery, I think, is now the question of what comes next, because it is now democratized. So now the creation of media it's everywhere.
So I think we can stop here. So that is going to be kind of where I want to leave off, what he left off right there, because every time that I see people that grew up in the film world talk about digital tools, they talk about it like people that are in this generation have just so much to work with. And I want to dispel that notion, and I want to reorient the conversation around that aspect of the technical part of filmmaking, because I feel like a lot of people are caught up in gadgets and not on how to use them properly. That happens a lot. And then there's like things that are advanced that are underappreciated that I feel like are not discussed. And then there's also the distribution of the media in modern day that's more flawed than going to, let's say, like, if you want to watch the highest resolution version of a movie, you still have to go to the movie theater. You know what I'm saying? You can watch your 4K Blu-ray, but that's not the full resolution. Not even close. That's probably not the full color range either. So it's one of those weird things. And I want to discuss that at the end of it. So when was the last time you watched the Star Trek remake or whatever what would you call it? A soft reboot?
Yeah, I would consider it a soft reboot, because it's not even, because like a hard reboot would be just starting it all over again, but they're not fully devoted to it by making it just a different timeline.
That's what you should call your sci-fi thing, hard reboot.
Hard reboots.
That's a catchy name, people will remember. Yeah. So
it sounds more like an individual like action flick than maybe a film that was by Steven Seagal. Hard reboot.
That would be hard to reboot.
Hard, because it has to be 3 words. Hard to reboot. It would be some kind of tech action movie.
It's just Steven Seagal, but he's a nerd sitting at a computer. Out to code.
He's a karate nerd.
Karate nerd. I like it. All right. But yeah, so shoot, what were we talking about right before that? My ADHD addled brain is broken. Shit. That's genius.
Well, when was the last time I saw Star Trek 2009, and would I call it a soft reboot?
Right. So they tied the canon back into this new story, but they also made it so that they could discard anything. They're like, this is a completely new universe, but also the old universe went into this new universe, giving them this option. They're like, how do we, what happens if this doesn't really work or whatever?
It's trying to have its cake and eat it too.
And I don't remember. I was listening to the director's commentary, which is most revealing on these, because JJ just says shit. You know what I mean? And he's like, Kelvin, it's called the Kelvin timeline, and it's called the USS Kelvin because of his grandfather for some reason. I don't remember what the association was, but it was another one of those things where it's like, why is it the Beastie Boys? It's like, oh, it's just because it's like a personal thing. That's that mystery box thinking again, the part of that triad where it's just whatever he wants to put in there. So you have the Kelvin timeline, which is this fabrication that he's invented that is going to have whatever rules that him and his team want to have. But it also has to tie into the real Star Trek somehow. And it's just through that wormhole or whatever in space-time.
Yeah, a black hole somehow sends these ships back in time. That's not what a black hole does.
Well, that's so like right off the bat, how would you want to take a look at this? Because there's the Star Trek way and there's the JJ way. I'm curious. I'm very curious. When you watch a JJ movie, what's the first thing that makes it not good? Like, when you watch The Force Awakens, or you're watching Star Trek Into Darkness or whatever? At what point is it what aspect of the film do you hate first? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
With, I suppose, it's different of J.J. Abrams films. But when it comes to Star Trek 2009, I think it's the visuals which get to me most because
Because you see it first.
yeah,
Okay.
um, because when you look at the new Enterprise, it just doesn't look like the Enterprise, and even JJ describes it's got to be sleek, sexy, like a hot rod in space. Like, wait a minute. When was the Enterprise a hot rod in space? And then you look at all these sci-fi corridors that they've designed, and I just keep thinking, wait, this doesn't look like Star Trek. It looks like some generic science
Right.
fiction, which
Right.
kind of seeps into every other science fiction design because of the conventions which they are just using that are away from the original Star Trek.
So it's the okay. So you would say Force Awakens. When did you start? I think we had this discussion. I was like 20 minutes into the movie. That's when I started to dislike it. So when did you dislike the Force Awakens? And then same thing for Star Trek, or I don't know what other JJ movie you want to talk about. Like I
think
find that his other movies are so forgettable. They have to be
when
ripping
Star
off
Trek
something.
2009 came out, I was 9, so there wasn't. I didn't really care for Star Trek at that time. It wasn't until later, which I actually started watching a lot more of Star Trek and enjoying it, that I went back and I watched Star Trek 2009, and I suddenly realized how much I despised it.
That's so
Just
funny
because.
because I was 18.
So I know, big fucking boomer.
Where's my medicine?
But with Force Awakens, as I said before, I was just because of the 14-year-old me who was still upset with the cancellation of Clone Wars, and I was very unhappy with Rebels. I
See,
just had a huge bias against anything Disney was going to make, but the
I did
film
too.
still didn't buy me over at all. Because obviously, if it was absolutely fantastic, I probably would have been head over heels for it. But it's another one of those cases where I never really started to break down the issues I had with it until it came to much later in my life, maybe when I was more 18-ish.
So like my problem is that whenever I watch a JJ movie, I always feel like the first bit of it has promise. It's so captivating. Like Star Trek 2009, best scenes in the movie are with Chris Hemsworth before he had been in any American movies or whatever, when he was still doing like Australian stuff, before he had any of the fame or Thor or any of that. He plays Kirk's father. Even though like the labor scene is kind of laboring on my suspension of disbelief in a way, it kind of is. It is poetic to me that James Kirk is born while a big battle is going on. It seems like a huge ripoff of Deep Space Nine's pilot episode to me when I think about it as a Star Trek nerd. But I find
You
that
think J.J.
storyline-
Abrams has seen Star Trek Deep Space Nine?
someone's seen something. You know what I'm saying? Someone, because he always talks about ripping shit off. So like, I mean, what you know. But like the thing that bothers me, I think I agree, is visually, because right from the get go, the way that they create the look of spaceships is grimy. It's dark. It looks modern, but it doesn't look like it takes place in the optimistic future. There's nothing smooth and shiny about it. That's like colorful and comforting. It all seems very just gross. Like even the lighting of the Romulan ship is just green and vomit colored. It doesn't look good.
It is
and
just
the inside
a
of the
mass of
Enterprise, or whatever they are,
spikes.
the inside of the Kelvin or whatever this ship they're in looks like a butcher shop in some Chinese warehouse or something like that. It just doesn't look good, and it's generic too, like you were saying. But the thing is that I feel like that little segment, 10-minute segment at the beginning of the movie, is pretty captivating. Just like how I thought that when I saw Kylo stop the blaster bolt in midair, I thought that's very interesting because they're doing something creative with the powers. I wonder how bad this can go. but it's not terrible yet. It kind of pissed me off that he could do something that Vader couldn't do, but then I went, okay, well then maybe he'll be an intimidating villain, and maybe this, wow, they're actually going to kill this village of people. That's pretty dark. But it's that first 10 minutes that leads you to think that there's something more in the mystery box, and that's the problem that I always have. Out of that has to spring a visual annoyance or a writing annoyance, and I think you nailed it. It's the visuals first, because there's something cheap about the way that he uses camera movements to accentuate everything. There's something annoying about the way that he flashes lens flare. There's something annoying about the way that the colors are so exaggerated. You know, this cavernous ship that makes no sense that the Romulans have with all of its colors. And I also think it's really annoying that the crew costumes in Star Trek look nothing like the setting. They look like they're manufactured for totally different universes. So, like, I think you're right. The visuals are right off the bat, kill it. But then, immediately when we start the sequence after that, when we cut to James Kirk being a kid in a Corvette, the movie's just terrible. And when we start to watch how Finn is shooting his former friends that are all enslaved with brainwashing machines, and he feels nothing but joy about it, that was insane to me.
Yeah, so he was screaming with triumph. It's like, yeah, I'm killing people. It's like, oh, the people which used to be your friends and colleagues, and were in the exact same situation you were.
Every time that I watch a JJ movie, I think about what Razorfist said, which is his quote, I believe, about JJ was, if it's not a meme, it's not in the movie. And I think about that, and that's why every time when people, like, someone says, hey, do you think JJ watched that? I'm like, somebody must have, because everything that's in the movie is a ripoff of something that I've seen before in some way. Like the scene in Star Trek 2009 where they introduce Spock as a kid in the school, and they're all in those little bowls and they're studying science and stuff. That's just a straight ripoff from one of the previous Star Trek movies where old Spock is doing that. That was invented by Leonard Nimoy. And now they're like, oh, I guess, well, that's the education system for all those kids. And they create a more visually interesting version for it. Now, is that a bad thing, or is that how the society should be constructed? You get the scene where they're fighting like little human kids, though, so that you can get a little, so you can see what the Vulcan blood looks like, which is another meme. Everything has to be some sort of keystone that you can point on. You know, if it's not part of the movie or whatever, if it's not part of the franchise, then it's something they add in, like the fact that all of the Vulcans are racist against them. Like, yes, of course, humans are
your
inferior.
Human mother.
Your human mother, yeah. Spock, the point is that I fucked your mother because I had a little bit of jungle fever that day. It's like, no, don't do that.
I have a human.
They never
fetish.
did that. I don't think that ever happened to him. But yeah, and then there's that. Remember that shot when they cut to him before the Council of Ricks or whatever, and then it's like the camera moves 90 degrees, a little less than 90 degrees, because like it has to be interesting.
Oh
you
yeah,
can't just do like
J.J.
a
Abrams
wide
thing.
shot.
He always has to have the camera moving because it thinks he makes the scene more interesting, and that's what he did with one of the camera angles in. I always forget the name of the film, but it's some children hatching some kind of plan, and the camera's just spinning around them at like a 360 degree, and J.J. Abrams is like, that makes the scene so much more interesting, and it makes the audience think something interesting is happening. He's like, no, it just makes the audience very dizzy, JJ. Stop it.
And you know what's annoying is that the characters are not the characters. Sorry, the characters don't like make the movies work. It's the actors. Like the sincerity of some of these actors. Like when I was thinking, what is your favorite? Say something good about JJ Star Trek movies. You can't be totally biased like that, right? Like I think the actors
technical level, I think the visual effects, the models, they are nice, but they don't fit the movie. That's my issue, because the actual model that they made for the Enterprise is obviously technically fantastic. It's modeled to such a high degree of detail. It looks great, but it doesn't fit. And that's the issue which I have with it. But the actors as well, I would say, if they were going to cast anyone for a young Kirk, I think they couldn't go worse.
I don't think they could do anything to cast. You can't replace Shatner.
I know
You're gonna
you can't
find a
replace
kid that's like
Shatner, but I think I could maybe live with who they chose for Kirk. I can't remember his name now.
Chris Pine.
Chris Pine. I could live with Chris Pine as Kirk.
Chris Pine has never been adequately cast in a movie. He's always cast wrong. Always. You can't name Chris Pine's best role. It's really frustrating.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's like, what is he doing here? Oh, he's a pretty guy. He's got pretty eyes.
I think the main point is that I think he visually can pull off Kirk. He just can't, like, he's not directed to act like Kirk, and that's might be the issue with why he doesn't fit in the reboot.
The whole, so I mentioned how I think the actors carry the thing. I'm not talking about the quality of their acting. I'm talking about the sincerity. I don't think that Chris Pine ever played Kirk correctly. But he wasn't directed correctly. He was directed to be this renegade type. Like, I'm in command now. I know what's right, and he has to yell about everything all the time. But I don't think any of the characters were cast correctly. That's the other thing. They all feel like weird knockoffs of the characters. And all of the actors that I really like, their likability and their charisma is what drives the movie when there's just mismatched character acting. Like, getting the tallest dude in the cast to play Bones, this burly Kiwi, is a terrible idea. You know what I mean? Because the whole thing, it was the Southern gentleman that picked the doctor role in the first place. DeForest Kelley picked the role because Gene Roddenberry loved DeForest. So he's like, D, I want you in here. Pick what you want. DeForest decided to play the doctor role because the doctor role was something that he felt he could add that Southern charm to. And that's what makes him such a likable character, that allows the emotional side of Kirk to contrast the Spock side, which is the logical side. The difference between these two actors and Shatner in the middle created this triad. So you had Spock as a reserved... Nimoy is an actor like Martin Sheen or Ryan Gosling. They are actors that allow other characters and other actors to play off of them, and they absorb it, and they sort of stand in as a reception, like they receive a performance for the audience, and the audience is able to be in the movie through them. And then there are actors that are more extroverted about how they present things, and they're more boisterous, and that's someone like Shatner, who is projecting emotion into the scene. And so when you have Nimoy, who's taking in Shatner's raw nerve, and he's only giving Shatner a little bit, but a lot to work with. It's a little bit of emotion and a lot of subtlety between their performances. So they can do that. And then when you add Kelly into the mix, what you have is you have a guy that's going to be warm, and he's going to be syrupy, and he's going to be making fun of the situation with Spock, but then he's also going to be holding Shatner to his morals. So you have all of these elements that are in play, and those are all missing. They're all sort of pantomimed in the modern day recreation. There's no soul from the person that's portrayed onto the character. What they are doing is trying to give tribute to these other actors the best of their ability. That's why Uhura is trying so hard to get that genius and energy across, because it's so important to the actress that's playing her. And that's why Simon Pegg is just really trying so hard, because he loves Star Trek. But he's not Scotty. There's nothing about him that's Scottish, or there's nothing about him that gives you this...
Yeah, I don't look at him and think Scotty. I look at him and think Simon Pegg.
Hell and High Water, I'll give you that. That's pretty good. But I think that Pine is actually one of those actors that's more like Nimoy, where I would not rely on Pine to inject the emotional quantity that Shatner is going to project. Because if you understand there's an intersection in Star Trek between stage acting and Shakespearean qualities. Like, I would say that Star Trek is the sci-fi equivalent of stage acting in a lot of ways, because you have Kirk, William Shatner. William Shatner was a Canadian who did a lot of workshops. He was trained formally. Most of it was for television, but he also did a lot of stage performances. He actually came up with Christopher Plummer, who ended up being in Star Trek VI, which was directed by Nicholas Meyer and written by him and another guy, which was heavily influenced by Shakespeare. And there's all sorts of tales that are revolving around that. And so what you get is you have this sort of higher art that's being smuggled in through this sort of lower brow, mid America sensibilities. And when you translate that into the modern day action, we have to move, we have to be really cool, and everybody has to be a genius and whatever they're doing, it sort of loses a lot of its charm. And that's the problem, is that JJ is mainlining mainstream sentiments of whatever's popular and in vogue at the time. So you're not going to get that rawness, and you're not going to get that depth that you're going to get from the original. And it's not going to look like that, because that look was sort of a colorful setting that was restricted by budget. Now that we have the full scale of the budget, we can put all sorts of RGB effects in front of it. Like if JJ had a desktop PC, you know he'd be having RGB everywhere, because you got to be distracted from the fact he only has a GTX 1060 in there or something. Anyway,
Earlier, you asking me what was my first issue with The Force Awakens, and I think I actually did remember what my very first issue was. My very first issue was that they were basically trying to do anything they could to move away from the prequels and not do anything the prequels did. So like politics of the world, any kind of world building, or like you can't have the Republic, etc., etc. And that was very much the perspective of a lot of fans at the time of how much Disney was just trying to move away from the prequels. And it's not a perspective that you find often now, because Disney is no longer trying to run away from the prequels.
Well, right,
which they were back when they first bought Star Wars.
So you're giving him a point for that?
No, I'm not giving J.J. Abrams a point. Okay. I'm saying that my issue was that they were trying to do anything they could to just avoid what happened with the prequels, which was what I also blamed as the reason they just did A New Hope again.
Well, it's ironic because
we were also talking about how they cancelled the Clone Wars, and they didn't do any kind of the prequels era media, not even books, for quite a long time, which was something which we were getting before Disney bought Lucasfilm, with the Clone Wars and novels and the comics, which we were being slowly given over time. Whereas all of a sudden everything moved to original trilogy and sequel stuff, because that's what the fans were really loved. But then nostalgia started to come in for the prequels, and then that's when the perspective started to change again. They thought, let's bring back Clone Wars. Let's give everyone Clone Wars media, comics, books, everything.
So what I'm thinking is that they tried to do something new, but all they could do is just regurgitate the previous. No,
I don't even think they were trying to do something new. I think they were trying to be safe from the very beginning.
But why would they delete all that stuff then? I mean, they made Legends and canon different, and then they basically cleaned a slate so that they could do something with it. But then they just went back and redid the same kind of thing over again, because that's what JJ does. I mean, Lawrence Kasdan was supposed to write this thing, and he just copied somebody else's homework. I mean, I don't understand what happened here, other than there has to be this idea that they want to sort of do the thing that JJ did with Star Trek 2009. I always felt like that was his demo reel to get the Star Wars job. Because ever since 2000, it's like 2009, all right, Star Trek. Then 2012 rolls around. Who can we have that's going to replace George Lucas? Well, let's get this Spielberg guy, the guy that everybody says is the new Spielberg, because he.
I don't even see the connection. I don't see the connection between him and Spielberg.
Well, the thing that I like about JJ is he shoots on film, so I'll give him that. But he copies a lot of stuff. That's the thing. He copies Spielberg's Dolly-ins, and he
I'm
copies his
sorry,
music cues.
interrupt. Another thing which I remember as well is that they were leaning so hard on how much practical effects they were doing, and I want to use quotation marks, practical effects, because there are more green screen effects in The Force Awakens than there are in most of the prequels, like even the Phantom Menace. It's because of most of the environments which you see are green screen or like CGI. They don't use many miniatures. Or you look at the miniatures or the practical effects they do use, and they're like really shitty. They barely move. They're just kind of there. They're not even looking too good. Like there's this one bird that just pecks up and down, and it's in the forefront of the shot for a few seconds, and it doesn't even look human.
It's really funny that people got immersed in this movie, and I just wonder what their imaginations are like if it's that kind of thing.
But I was
I'm
leaning on
genuinely
the
curious.
irony of how much they were saying that they were doing practical effects, but then most of it was just CGI and not practical at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that for me, part of that immersion that was so great about the original was that it didn't have a lot of that, and that the scenes that did have it were sort of so unobtainable with CGI at the time that it was impressive. I think that is a retrospective way of looking at it. Nowadays, people I think have a tolerance for things, but I don't think they get that same feeling. I think that that's what's changed is like if I see a really impressive set piece that is practical. Like remember when she gets her little food thing and then it bubbles up?
Yeah,
Remember
that.
the little bread thing? That was a great effect. That was fun. That was real. But once you get that little satisfaction of seeing that little effect, you start to think like, okay, well, what's going on here? And it's like the bare minimum of something. It's like if you want to play an MMO for the immersive gameplay, and all you can do is click on NPCs and read the quest loadouts. There's nothing to this character intentionally left as a blank slate. Filmmaking wise, though, I think we've had this conversation before. I don't believe that people can reproduce aesthetics unless they really, really try hard to follow the same methods as the people that did it before, and not just in creation of the actual material, but the design of it. There's something about the bad robot Star Wars that just doesn't look like Star Wars.
Yeah.
All of the textures.
We
look
were
wrong,
talking about that
all of
yesterday with the
yeah.
the ship designs, the new ones. They just look weird and out of place. They look like someone was told to make something like Star Wars, but at the exact same time doesn't look like it fits within that world. Because when you think about Star Wars and its sci-fi look, it's kind of like it's sort of advanced, but not at the exact same time. There's grunge. There's not really anything thin. A lot of it's quite bulky. There's lots of little details on it and greebles. It's a very specific kind of 80s look. Whereas in the modern day, when you look at designs, it's like, oh, well, we'll just shove shit on it everywhere, which is the most complex bullshit ever. And it ends up looking just like generic visual noise. And that's something which I did want to stay away from when it came to my own designs.
Well, so that's The Force Awakens. I feel like when you go to see one of these movies, you have expectations. So if I were trying to think of the position of somebody who didn't have any expectations whatsoever, they just walk into the theater, they don't know anything about it, and I'm still trying to figure out what it is that you're going to get out of that thing that you can't get out of the movie that you could have just watched for decades before that. If it's not the modernization of the visuals. But then the problem that I have is that it's like I genuinely think that aesthetics are better than the quality of the era of the visuals. If the aesthetic works, then it doesn't really matter if it's what the effect is. If it's digital or if it's physical or if it's a miniature or if it's some sort of matte painting, it doesn't really matter as long as it's convincing enough for the audience to sublimate it, and if it has that authenticity feeling to it. But I think that when you go in with the expectations, then everybody's separate expectations are supposed to be judged against something. And if we just think about it as a movie, I think that that's the biggest problem with it. If you discard all of the other elements out of it and you just start thinking about these movies, it's like there's nothing there that impacts you in the same way as the old ones, right? Mm-hmm. Throw away the old ones and you're watching episode 7 of something and they keep talking about the old ones.
Even if you like going to Star Trek here, I've one part which was always a very common line when it came to people talking about the reboot Star Trek films was that they're good films, just bad Star Trek films, and I would disagree completely. I would say that they are just bad films because of for a start, the pacing is atrocious, but at the exact same time, the quick, fast pacing is what distracts you from actually thinking about the film. And I haven't found any Mauler-style reviews where it really goes in depth to the writing of 2009. Partly because during 2009, I don't think the YouTube critics were quite in the critic community was in the same place as it is now. If it came out now, I'm sure there would be tons of media talking about all the issues.
I watched the Plinkett review of it again recently on one of my streams, and he gave it a pass because it was one of the first movies of its time period that was just straight up copy pasta with only the elements that normies would remember.
It's because no one was thinking about this film. When you start thinking, wait a minute, the cadets are running the ship because the entirety of the Federation fleet is off in some other space battle. There are no other ships available. The entire fleet is currently being used. So we've got this other fleet of ships, which they're there, apparently. And all the cadets are going to just go up and use them and then never, relieved of duty because, these are cadets. They're not even fucking crewmen. Even Spock, he's a teacher, not a commander. Well, he has the rank of commander, but he just spontaneously becomes the commander of his ship. And then it's like the really weird relationship he has with Uhura, which is strange when he's her teacher.
Cringe.
What?
It's just cringe.
And then there's the other part where it's like, I can't distinguish Romulan from Vulcan. It's like, okay, no, but surely you can understand Vulcan, and anything else would be like, you'd be able to know. And why would the ship even be sending out Romulan transmissions? And then nothing even comes of that either, because Uhura, it's just a way for Uhura to be put as the communications officer.
Right.
It has
she's a genius in
story. It's like, I can understand Romulan. All right, get on that station. Never comes up.
She's a master linguist, man. She's a genius. What? Everybody's brilliant.
And we're talking about one of the core worlds of the Federation, and they can't even tell that there's a ship in orbit blowing everything up. They don't have any kind of communications networks or anything. Like this planet is just completely isolated.
Let's rewind a second. Let's go all the way. Let's start from the timeline at the beginning, right? Because that's what's funny to me about it starts.
Well, I was just pointing out that there are so many parts of the film I'm not even done, by the way, because it's almost throughout the entire film. Dumb thing after dumb thing after dumb thing keeps happening. And when I rewatched it a while ago, and I started thinking, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. 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 Wait, that doesn't make any more sense. Wait, Archer's dog could be 100 and fucking something. And then, what?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, remember that shit?
It's all just complete nonsense. So, they hyperspace. No, they don't hyperspace. They warp the ship into the atmosphere of Titan so that they can have a cool raising out of the the gas planet shot, but
So-
that doesn't make how is warping into Titan going to mask your approach? By God, it just doesn't make any sense.
So right
It's
off
so
the bat,
bizarre.
Look at how actually cheap this titling is.
Oh, I know
right?
why this
It's
doesn't
just-
look great.
it just
It's
doesn't
because
look
it's
good.
rendered in fucking what is it called? After Effects Element 3D.
I
The
don't
company
even wanna
which
know.
made the graphic for that intro was Video Copilot. They're like a
Okay.
relatively small visual effects studio, which are known for making visual effects more accessible to people.
Cool. It looks like
But
shit.
it looks like shit.
They should have just done the classic one
But
where
the-
it goes.
go back to the-
That would've
Go
been
back to
awesome.
the graphic again, just a second.
Der Graphikheimer.
Yeah, you can see that the textures don't quite align. They've just kind of put some metallic texture on it, but it's not even triplanar. And triplanar is because UVs are all separate, and when you use UV projection of a texture, when the UVs are split, it causes the image to split, so that you can see on the corner there is that the metal which you see isn't quite aligned with the metal which is on the
Oh, right.
main part of the badge. It looks like two different parts of the image, which is why you use triplanar projection, which is a 3D projection of the image to make sure that the seams become seamless.
This was
And
2009.
that is one of- And this is also using
This is
GPU rendering.
2009. No, I'm just kidding.
Then this is using GPU rendering as well, rather than CPU rendering, because it looks like something you'd make in a fucking see in a video game.
It should just be like a Phase Clan introduction.
This is just a really cheap After Effects title.
So like what the thing is that okay, the next thing that happens, we go through this whole George Kirk thing. He's gonna save the day, and he saves the day against these Romulans that look like they have like Mexican gang tattoos for some reason, but they're lame. They're
Yeah.
like Rorschach tests on their head.
And this is
So they're
another
ugly.
case of the villain just
Look at these
being
lens flares.
like batshit crazy.
Yeah, he's just like, my child and my family died because there was an explosion. Okay, so
And then he
wait a
starts
minute, wait a
screaming.
minute.
It's
Let's-
like
okay, so even from the beginning, it's okay. By the way, look at how stupid this ship looks. This looks absolutely garbage. No wonder they have to hide it in blackness because
it's just a more visual noise. It's all just spikes.
It's just spikes. It looks like a giant
Spike
tribal
the
tattoo
ship.
in space. So they come through this wormhole in space or whatever, and there's a bunch of lens flares, and
Not a wormhole. It's a black hole.
a black whatever it is.
It comes
That's-
through a black hole.
It comes through whatever that is. That's a black hole. I don't know what it is, but it's a space time.
Well, they
thing.
explicitly say that they made a black hole to stop the singular, or to stop the not the singularity. Fuck, I've already forgotten what it's.
Okay, it doesn't
The
really
solar
matter
flare.
though.
it's
Okay,
not the
yeah,
solar
yeah,
flare.
yeah.
When
We don't
the-
know that yet. We don't know that yet.
Well, no,
We don't know
it,
that
it's
yet.
just what they've told us in the film that that Spock used a black hole to stop the star explosion something from destroying
But
the
we
rest
don't
of the
know
galaxy.
that at this point in the movie. All that we know is that they come through the thing,
The singularity,
then-
whatever it is.
and then he's like, "I want to know where Spocky boy is."
I know who's Spock.
Your refusal would be unwise. Oh yeah, they have to have like a face to face, and then you get terrible CGI.
I love the way he introduces himself. It's like, "Hey, Captain, I'm Jeff. Hello, nice to meet you." It's like awkward, something you'd see out of like the Orville as a joke. "Hi, I'm Nero. How's it going? Have you had a nice
Right.
day?"
I want Spock dead now. So then you have this interesting scene where he's like, "I gotta die real quick, but I love you guys," and then he pieces
It's like,
out.
"Oh,
and it's all
that's
dramatic.
inconvenient that the automatic systems aren't working. Can't you just
Right.
put the engines to full and
No, it's a giant mining vessel that can defeat this thing. Don't worry about it. The point is that
I'm okay with the idea of a future mining vessel being able to destroy like a ship of the line in like from 300 years ago, because like the technology that they would have would be staggeringly more advanced. At the exact same time, all he really does is put the engines to full and then just sit in a chair as it crashes into the ship. And the size of the ship wouldn't even do that much damage against the Nemesis or whatever it is. So, the sacrifice is a little bit.
No, I like the
weak.
sacrifice. I like it.
It's an emotional moment,
kinetic.
especially with the
It works.
music.
He's good at acting, and then it cuts right.
But
to the
I don't think it
titles.
makes much
Great.
sense. It's like, oh, the automatic systems are down. I need to fly it manually.
Oh, who
It's
cares
like,
about
oh,
any of that? That
he
doesn't.
puts,
That's
puts
not
it on
important.
full engines and then just sits in a chair.
That's not important. What's important is that we cut to the kid is now old enough to steal his stepfather's car, and that was supposed.
And then you've
to
got the weird generic sci-fi police.
Yeah, and and that's the
on a
voice of
floating
J.J.
bike.
Abrams. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. This was supposed to be a different scene, but this whole idea that he's just gonna drive it off the cliff, and he just jumps out of the out of the car and slides out of it. What? Why? Why
Just
is
look
any?
at the police
Why any of
officer.
this?
It's another thing which just doesn't look Star Trek at all.
No, it doesn't have anything to do
it
with
looks
Star Trek.
like some kind of the entire scene doesn't look like it belongs in this film.
So then,
And then you've got Spock, and I would
right?
say
Yeah,
the-
he's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "James Tiberius Kirk." And then we cut to Spock at the same age, and he's a genius. Blah blah blah.
and
then
he's learning
everybody makes fun
English,
of him for being
mathematics.
half white. I mean, and not fully the right race or whatever.
I'm somewhat more fine with this scene than I am the other one, visually speaking.
Well, yeah. And then
'cause
his
it's-
mother's Winona Ryder for some reason, even though they look like they're not even that much. Like the age difference is weird. They have to like age her up to make it work, which is bizarre. It just visually looks weird. This also looks like a scene from The Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones for some reason.
I don't think it looks like Attack of the Clones at all. It just looks more generic.
It looks like Attack of Some Clones by the what is that, the Asylum. Anyway, so I don't like Spock. When we get introduced to Zachary Quinto, I don't like Zachary Quinto. He plays Spock like he's always mad or something.
Yeah,
he's
he's
just,
like
like, angry.
a complete psychopath.
Yeah, he's
And
just like
the
meh,
thing is,
meh. He's always like
we-
throwing a bitch fit.
It's like he's always got this intense rage beneath the surface. Like at any point, he's gonna fly off the handle as a unrestrained monster.
This guy
And
should
like,
play Spock.
if he doesn't control it, then he's just gonna that monster's gonna come out. But that's not what Spock is. Yeah, they restrain their emotions and they stay more logical. But that's
And he's
not
an
because at any
asshole about
moment
it.
they're gonna.
He's such a like a snarky, like he's like bitchy about it. He's like, oh, you think I'm not cool because I'm human? Well, fuck you then. But he says it in Spockian, you know what I mean?
I can somewhat understand the outrage of when he attacks Kirk because he's just lost his planet, he's lost his mother, and that's a very personal loss to him, which I think would be enough to make Spock crack. But that's just how he's still played throughout the rest of the series. That if he gets a little bit mad, he's gonna turn into Hulk and he's gonna smash.
He's always mad. He's got resting bitch faces, and he's like vaguely looking like Nimoy, but he just looks mad all the time. And
Yeah.
but anyway, he leaves. He basically they're like, you're a little bitch, and he's like, fuck you guys, I'm going to Starfleet.
I can't
instead.
believe that Nimoy. The reason why Nimoy didn't want to be in Generations was because he didn't think that the script that they had made was paying
my
much
God,
respect
I
to
know, right?
Spock.
And
And
then
then
this-
he goes and does this.
This is ridiculous, and there's no Bill in this. Stupid, but But here's the problem. Look, so we had this cut where we go, okay, young Kirk is a little kid. Okay, then we see Spock as a little kid. But then we immediately within the same sequence, now he's an adult. Like 2 minutes later, he's an adult. He's just like, Spock, you will always be a child of not being fully American. And then he's like, okay, Mom, I'm going off to space camp now. And then it turns out he's not going to space camp. He's actually going to Starfleet. And he's got resting bitch face now. And
it's like, oh, I just wanted to show you how bigoted you were. I'm actually going to go to Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, I'm
Fuck
joining the
you.
humans who will like me. And so then we cut to
they don't
Starfleet.
age as well either. So that looks like it's
why are they in Iowa? What the fuck are these cadets doing in Iowa? And why is the spaceship being built on land? Right? I understand. This is just
I know that
look. JJ just loves to have shit in the frame. He's like, okay, I want the moon and the sun to be in the same shot, so they're only 20 feet away from each other. Like, really, the spaceship is being made right by this one bar, and then there's nothing else around them. Really?
You think if
that's
you
the
had some
only
kind of
thing?
shipyard,
The little digital thing?
They'd be building lots of ships, not just one, not just the Enterprise randomly being built in some field.
Right? It doesn't make any sense. They just need to have that so that they can have the visual. Why not have him working on a space station, like Deep Space Nine style? Like he gets to see everybody on the space station fly up and go off onto these ships, and he just watches them. Or maybe he's a shipbuilder, and so he knows the ship inside out, but he's not part of Starfleet. And they're like, hey, why are you building these ships, kid? You should enlist. Enlist, by the way, because this whole scene establishes that the cadets go to this bar, and that this guy is at this. What does Kirk do? What has he been doing this whole time? He's
No
just
idea,
some guy.
Considering that none of them age at all throughout this film, so you've got the flashback with Spock as he leaves to go to Starfleet Academy. His mother doesn't age, he doesn't age, and then from the scene in the bar here, from what we assume to be like a few months later, it just doesn't even seem like a few months later. It just feels like the next day.
Right, now Kirk has grown up. So we went from him. We know he stole a car, so he's a renegade, and that's the only character trait he has in the whole movie. He gets into a fight because he's doesn't like authority figures, and then an authority figure tells him that you should be an authority figure instead because your dad was a dope authority figure. And then he's like, fine, I'll take the challenge because I'm 14. And so Bruce Greenwood sells him on the idea of joining Starfleet. And then he just drives right up. Just drives right up to the flagship. It's the newest ship. It's flagship being built on the ground with welding torches. Because how are we going to know that shit is being built in Star Trek unless we have a fucking welding torch?
How they did this in the other Star Treks of conveying the ships being built? They had like parts of the ship and hull plates being attached to it, not just welding sparks. And I ranted about this before on Twitter about how stupid it is to build ships in atmosphere when you can build them in orbit. And like I remember saying that, okay, so imagine how many accidents you get from having to haul up these massive metal bulkheads and shit, which you have to lift with cranes. That's a lot of danger. Whereas if you have things being built in orbit, all of a sudden 90% of the workplace dangers are now completely avoided. It is much more safe. And then someone came to me and said, "Oh, what about oxygen?" It's like, spacesuits. Oxygen isn't an issue in Star Trek.
So
it's mostly done with drones as well, like these little work bees things, or cranes, or these little robot arms, as we see in Enterprise, as they replace parts of the hull with other bulkheads that have been damaged.
So I want to do a callback. No, I know what you're saying. I want to do a callback. So in the movie starts, right? And it's this whole setup where, remember how I was talking about how like there's like video game logic going on here with JJ movies? The thing starts where there's like a battle sequence and there's the whole face off with the big bad guy, and you play as the main character, but like it's like they have all their powers and you can actually use all the powers. So all of the Star Trek shit is happening. Oh, fly the captain over to the other ship to negotiate. Then he gets killed. Now George is in charge. So he's got to fight with the ship, and then the ship starts blowing up, just like real Star Trek. And then it cuts to when the character has no powers, level 0 or level one or whatever, and he's got to kill boars and that kind of thing. So like this is the origin. And the origin. Okay, so we go. So Kirk is a guy that steals a car, then he tries to fuck a girl, then he gets into a fight, and then he gets guilt tripped into selling his motorcycle so he can enlist in a non-military force.
In a non-military.
And he just happens to meet Uhura at a bar, and Pike, who's the ship captain, and McCoy on the way up.
He just was going to a bar for a reason, and it's like, hey, that's the son of the guy who died years back and saved his crew.
And so now we have Kirk, and he meets McCoy, who's just a guy sitting next to him. And McCoy's like, all right, I need you to know that the character that used to exist in the old thing didn't like using the transporter. So we're going to make him afraid of flying. Now he just is afraid of space and flying at all, but he's going. Like it's like they're joining the French Foreign Legion because they have a midlife crisis. And instead of being old sawbones, where it's like they could have said like, oh, they used to call me old sawbones or something like that, to actually explain what the reference is. It's just because now all he's got is his bones. So now every time that Kirk calls McCoy Bones, he's saying it's because your wife left you. Your wife took all your shit. I'm going to keep calling you that for the rest of time. It's fucked up.
I think it is very much a thing of like flanderizing the character of the Kirk and Bones. It's like they've taken one attribute. Like they've taken the attribute of Kirk where he, sleeps with aliens, and then they just ramp it up to 11 and he's sleeping with some green chick.
So like I want to add another thing on top of that, which is this idea that JJ is saving money by like limiting the amount of places that they're shooting. So giant CGI scenes, whatever. We have a set for the Stargazer ripoff or whatever this ship is. That's cool. And then we have.
I don't like the single nacelle design. It looks weird.
No, I don't give a shit about any of that really. I mean, it doesn't look great. But the thing is that all these locations, they're not real. They're pretty cheap. It's just some wall and some CGI backdrop.
The wall actually looks like it's made of wood.
Bowls. They only had a couple of these bowls, by the way. The rest of these are just added in there. They had like 2 or 3 of them or whatever it was. So you just have those bowls. Very basic sets. And then this set is just fucking some wood extensions in a building that's probably already looking like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so then we cut to a bar scene. It's like, well, a bar scene that's all out of focus, and they have Budweiser. It's like, this isn't a complicated scene either. You can't even see the background. So who knows if they actually they built a set? Yeah, but they probably built a set, but it's just
so
like
awkward as
bar.
well when he is punched and then accidentally falls on Uhura and grabs her breasts. You need to specifically.
Oh my god, that was so stupid. By the way, then we cut to another.
It's not even like he
scene
accidentally grabs the. You can't accidentally grope because it lands in a very specific manner.
I feel like this costume is designed by the same person that designed the First Order costumes.
The hat looks really weird when it comes off the back of the head.
Look at this set. This isn't.
It's just a power plant with some visual effects thrown on it. You can see the fucking. I don't even know what they are, but I've seen them at not power plant, but some kind of relay station or whatever, and it's just some random shit where you see those little things sprouting out of the ground.
Yeah, I can't find it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, totally. I know what you're talking about. Like, and there it is. Okay.
Yeah, there it is. Like just some random shit.
Just some random shit that's coming out of the ground and look like stanchions or something. It's ridiculous.
You
Yeah, I know
can
what
tell
you're
that
talking about.
they've shot in a physical location in real life, and then just added these poles in with CGI, because I suppose it's fine on first look, but you see the pole in the middle of the screen which goes up to support the ship. It just looks off, and I think those are CGI poles which they've just
Yeah.
put in
Yes.
post.
Yes. I'm glad you noticed that because it's totally about like color and shading. It's very weird.
The lighting as well, like the highlights look weird.
Yes.
I think I realized what's wrong with the highlights.
Sorry.
There's no shadow coming from the ship, because the ship is casting
Oh,
shadows on the pole.
That's so funny. That's
y-
so funny.
The ship is casting shadows on the poles, because the poles are CGI. They're
Oh my
catching the
God,
shadow.
you're so
but
right.
the rest of the environment is not catching the shadow.
There's no shadows
from the ship,
Yeah.
which
Only
is why the
CGI
lighting looks
extensions.
so different.
That's brilliant. That's why you don't use those pre-existing sets and you build a miniature.
No,
That's hilarious.
I think it's
You can't
can
control
do
lighting.
it fine.
No, you can't. You
Listen,
would actually physically have to
finish.
do
Let
it.
me
You
finish.
can't
No,
CGI
let me finish.
shadows. No
Yeah,
way, man.
you can do shadow casting, and
I wouldn't trust that.
a lot of when you composite CGI into a scene, it casts shadows. Remember, like you just have a shadow mat which you render separately, but that requires a 3D plane to cast those shadows onto. A lot of them can be quite simplistic or just be a simple ground plane, but it is certainly possible to do. But when you've got such a complex scene to cast a shadow onto, because you've got all of this shit which is just sprouting out of the ground and all these complex geometries, that's going to be very difficult to model to such extreme accuracies.
I hear what you're saying. We'll have to look into that to show evidence for your argument or my argument against its validity. I couldn't tell you at this point. I'll take your word for it. But the next thing that we cut to, immediately after going to we haven't even seen Starfleet yet. It cuts to 3 years later. And it's like, Captain Nero, you've been requested on the bridge. And then now it's like, we're going to wait until they go to school. So now they're in school, and you have these 30-year-old men in school, and it's awkward.
The Golden Gate Bridge is like right next to the academy as well, but then in a later shot, it's like miles away.
Also, I like how the entire ship, like, the Romulans just live in evil ship in Greenland, just like evil green. They live in a Mountain Dew factory.
Oh, they retconned this to the ship being...
Do you remember the original Xbox UI? That's the UI for their
ship. But the retcon which they did to explain the look of the ship is that it was a mining ship upgraded with Borg technology.
Oh my! I wish you hadn't told me that.
It's in the novels.
I really, really wish you hadn't told me.
In Countdown to Darkness.
Oh no! So the next thing that we see is, yeah, like you said, we go to
Andrew Clark, very quickly for $2. This is a great workout podcast. Thank you guys. Well, you're welcome, Andrew Clark.
So yeah, they're on this is another location that already exists, but it's actually appropriate. I mean, that's what you would probably read. That's very Star Trek to use existing civic infrastructure.
Well, that's what they did with the Star Trek Academy or Starfleet Academy in the other TNG era with the building.
But look at how bad that looks, though.
It looks...
That city looks awful.
It doesn't look like a city which anyone would actually want to live in.
No, it looks like hellish.
Okay, look at that structure there.
It looks like Cyberpunk 2077.
I guess it's maybe in construction because
what year is this?
You can see crates of something on those levels, so it's possible that maybe it's a apartment building under construction, or maybe classrooms.
Oh yeah, Logan, we haven't even gotten to their weird Nazi hat uniforms or anything yet. Like the stupid... Hollywood has this obsession with non-breathable fabric, and I think it's just beyond stupid, because who wants to sit around in this hot-looking clothing all the time just because it looks, quote-unquote, looks good? That's not how you design clothing. That's not how you make something realistic, by making it look like nobody would want to wear it. Who wants to wear this ugly ass red outfit? What are you representing with that? Why do they look like they're like Starship Troopers officers? Looks odd as fuck. And the fact that they couldn't just reuse old shit just shows that they're like, I want it to be 25% different or something.
Well, it had to be 25% different because of the
No, it
split
didn't.
between Viacom and CBS.
Oh my god, I hate them.
It was a legal agreement because they wanted to still make money based off the classic Star Trek because they still sell a lot of original Star Trek product.
Yuck.
So that anything new which they were making couldn't interfere with those sales. So they had to redesign the Enterprise to be 25% different. They had to redesign the uniforms to be 25% different, etc., etc.
So instead of getting like school as a sequence or a montage, the only school aspect that we get is them talking about the test that they have to take, which is to
And then
tee up
taking the
next
test.
scene. No, and then sex.
Oh,
And
then
for some
sex,
reason,
then
this
the
is the
test.
way. This is a sexy shot. No, this is awkward.
Especially with the green paint on the lady as well.
So this is a total rip-off of Star Trek 3 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then Spock comes in, Matt. Right? So he cheats and he's all smug about it because he's eating the apple just like Shatner does. They wear weird jumpsuits for no reason. Everything looks outdated. This looks like it could be the reused set from the George Kirk set. Do you think?
Could quite possibly be.
lit
Yeah,
differently?
it's
They have the same stick.
The chair is probably reused, but I'd have to see it from a different angle because we don't see the flaw in the other set.
Probably intentionally.
We only see the like the chair, a few of the consoles.
Looks like the same set.
Yeah, looking at the view screen, I think it is.
Same angle. So anyway, Spock comes in, he's pissed off because Kirk cheated. And he's like, you're a dumb bitch. And then Tyler Perry shows up.
In the original, it's explained in Wrath of Khan that he gets a medal for his creative thinking. Because he doesn't believe in like a no-win scenario. But here they just reprimand him. And he's like, nah, you're not going to go on any missions. The rest of the cadets are. You're not. What?
Stupid. Really dumb. Because they could have done a whole thing. Like, the idea of strictly a Star Wars cadet story, Star Trek cadet story would have been really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like young Kirk actually becoming a leader. That would have been interesting. Instead, they just bumped his rank up like 20 rank levels. But they're pissed at him here.
I don't understand, like, why would the admirals ever deal with, to take seriously, this cadet which has suddenly risen to the rank of captain with a ship full of cadets as their main flagship? It's so bizarre why anyone would accept this.
I like how Logan is spurging out in chat because nobody knows what ranks anybody is. Yeah. Welcome to hell. Nobody knows what's going on. Tyler Perry's in charge. He's wearing a Romulan outfit for some reason.
Yeah, those don't look like Admiral outfits at all. They just look like Romulans. Because Romulans have that patterned fabric.
Okay, so
That's just an aircraft hangar.
This is not just any aircraft carrier. This is the Spruce Goose aircraft carrier in Chino, California.
You mean aircraft hangar?
Aircraft hangar. Yeah, they built the giant double-decker, the biggest shit there. That's supposed to be the future, I guess. What a pathetic mess, dude. Just make a miniature. Fuck you.
Fuck it, even use CGI for God's sake. It's that would be better than just a generic aircraft carrier. And you know what a funny inconsistency between the scenes? So the practical shuttle which they built has the nacelles on the top. You can see there in the background.
Oh, let me
and that's the shuttle that they bought. But when it goes to the CGI model which they're flying, and they fly towards the Enterprise, it's got the nacelles on the bottom.
No fucking way.
Yeah, it between as they fly up to the ship, the nacelles change from this.
Oh my god!
Look,
no way.
You see it in the distance.
No, it looks the same.
Is it?
Yeah, it looks the same.
I could have sworn that was an inconsistency I saw, that the nacelles on the shuttle were different. Okay, so they're on the top there. Maybe I've got it the other way around. Go back to the other scene.
No, I think it's just a consistent model. There's also 2 different models here.
It might have been that it was a different model I was looking at. Okay.
I just like how all these cadets are being assigned to different ships. Like, that's so stupid. Random boxes
Assigning
and dials and shit.
cadets to a ship.
Oh, yeah. So, back to the story. So, he goes to the thing. Kobayashi Maru, blah, 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 eat the apple. I win. No, you're going with us anyway because you're going to get... I'm going to sneak you on the ship.
I must have been confusing it because you can see the nacelle on the bottom of one of the other ships in the background. Okay, no, I'll take that back.
So he wants to get on the Enterprise for some... Like, there's no connection with him in the Enterprise, but he just wants it anyway. He gets vaccinated against COVID, which is, you know, the right thing to do. And then he immediately suffers graphene oxide side effects, as you do with his hands. Blah,
And
blah,
the
blah.
guy just let him go through as well.
CGI. He says, I might have to throw up on you again. Really annoying. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, right. Thank you, Michael Giacchino. Yeah, right. So we get that. That's nice. And then
I'll
we
admit,
immediately cut inside the...
It's a catchy
great.
theme. I'll give it that.
Enterprising Young Men is a great song. But then we cut in the inside, and it's not futuristic. There's like tape.
It's...
What is this?
It
What's
looks
going
like some kind of brewing factory.
I
With
don't
all
understand
the
what's going on
pipes
here.
everywhere and the...
He gets in the ship.
I love how he enters an elevator that's supposedly on the midsection of the ship, and then just 5 seconds later, as the camera spins around him, he's at the top of the ship. Like the elevator just went 100 and something miles an hour, just go shoo, at the top.
I just like all these random lights that shine directly in the face of the person trying to use the computer. That's helpful. So we get a tour of the ship. Blah, blah, blah. Let's punch it. And then...
Did you leave the handbrake on?
Oh, yeah. Joke. Captain, my name is this nuclear vessels.
Yeah, not a great casting choice. Definitely one of the worst ones.
No, I really thought that Anton Yelchin was good, actually. I thought he was good.
I didn't think he fit at all.
Well, he's real Ukrainian, so I thought that was cool.
I know he's a real Ukrainian, but I still don't think he fit as the character.
So now the Romulans are destroying Vulcan, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody knows or something.
Yeah, Vulcan is... There's like, hey, look, there's a big spaceship drilling into our planet. Should we maybe tell someone about that? Should we maybe do something ourselves? Nah.
Shut up, Wesley!
How can they not tell? Because Vulcan has its own infrastructure, its own science academies. It's like if they went to Earth and somehow Earth didn't know that they were being blown up. Also,
God,
it's
so
described as a storm in space, but that was the singularity which
what was described as a storm in space?
It's like, oh, that's the exact same thing which happened when my father died. But then why would the singularity be happening at Vulcan?
How convenient that this exact moment you got on the Enterprise and are on the ship that you can respond
They
to
give
that
a weather
exact
report.
thing. Yeah.
They could give a weather report of the local space. We're expecting slight chances of rain in the Alpha Quadrant
Rain?
today.
That
Rain
means the
in
Klingons are
space.
attacking. So they actually do get attacked or whatever. They beam right into the.
Oh yeah,
everything's
and
destroyed.
that saucer section which they
stolen.
fly through,
Yeah.
is like massive compared to the ship. But all of the ships which were warping away, were the exact same size as the Enterprise. So the
Don't think
fact
about
that
it.
the saucer section is so huge is stupid.
Shit starts to blow up, which is great. Spock.
Oh, you know they also increased the size of the Enterprise as well.
That's cool.
So I can't remember the exact proportions of the original, but this one is much bigger.
So now they're just arguing about protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And then they send the guy that they should send to the brig, who's just like a random cadet.
Kirk,
on a
you're not
secret
supposed to
mission.
be here.
Yeah.
I'm going to launch you into the fucking drilling platform.
Yep. And then we get a parachuting scene.
And since they destroy the drill, how are they able to use the drill later?
I have no idea. Anyway, you have to have a red shirt that kills, because that's a meme. So this guy goes, whoa!
He
I'm
gets
dead.
sucked in. 200
Corruption.
meters! 300 meters!
Then we have to give Sulu something to do, and because he had a sword in one episode, now he's a sword guy.
He's a swordsman.
Hiya!
And they made Sulu gay as well in Beyond.
That's excellent.
And I think George Takei was against it.
Well, he was, yeah.
So
Then we
he
have
didn't.
to.
He's like, no, even though I'm gay, no, my character shouldn't be gay because he was never gay.
So then, I guess Spock is the only guy that goes down to the Vulcan planet, and they have no
Yeah.
ships to save themselves.
Vulcan doesn't have ships apparently. They're
They're all
some
gonna just die.
backwards cave dwelling shits.
They're just gonna die, and then they get beamed
They don't
out,
have
except-
beaming technology, even though they had
Yep.
beaming technology before fucking humanity.
Yeah, they're very advanced, except they can't save themselves from
They
random
need the
Romulans.
humans to come along and save them. And it's like, I'm the last of my species.
So then Vulcan gets destroyed after Romulans get Romulus destroyed. Then kissy time.
And it's so awkward.
My child and
They
my
esta-
family, Kirk.
They
Captain
established
Spock.
earlier that she's his fucking... he's her teacher. And they then have them kissing in a romance, and it's... What? That doesn't seem like a fucking Pornhub thing at all.
I like how he
Mr.
rips
Mr.
off.
Spock, if I need an A.
He rips off Wrath of Khan before he rips off Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the only Star Trek movie he ever watched. So then McCoy.
Well, I
is like,
suppose
"Be
if you're gonna rip
human."
off, rip from the best.
They figure out what's happening, I guess. They start working as a team. Oh no, they're just yelling at each other. And then they shoot Luke. I mean, they shoot a droid onto the planet. I mean, they shoot.
It's. I think we skipped over
Finn
the
onto
part
the
where
planet.
Kirk gets promoted to commander, which is so unnecessary and bizarre.
Why didn't they just beam him to the planet? What the fuck?
Yeah, they could easily just beam him. Well, I guess because if they beamed him, then he would have no way to survive. Whereas in the pod, it's going to keep him safe for at least a while.
In my pod, I am safe.
Because it's like, oh, wait for Federation to come and save you. It's a hostile planet. Don't
By
go
the
outside.
way, how fucked is that? Like, hey, bye, cadet. You're out of
Fuck you!
Seriously? On
On
a
a
planet
hostile
that
planet.
on the moon of a planet that just exploded?
No, it's not the moon of a planet because they were in warp. So it has to be quite a distance away.
No, it
But
doesn't make any
when-
sense.
But then when you visually see Vulcan being destroyed, it's like just next to it, so it is like the moon.
Yeah. They just leave him on this giant ice moon when Vulcan has no moon. Then he gets into a fight, and then he finds Spock. He just runs into Spock in an ice cave. As you do.
That's what we're talking about with the insane pacing of this film. It's like, that's convenient. And then Spock's like, so I can't believe you found me. How did you know I was here? And it's like, I don't know the fuck you were here.
I've been
But
waiting
I
for
will-
you, Mr. Kirk. It's like you look nothing like you used to.
Leonard Nimoy, I would say, is possibly one of the better parts of this film.
Well, he's the best part.
Yeah, I would say go as far, but it's the best part because I actually feel something when I see him on screen and the music starts playing. It's like, you're my best friend. It's like, no, you hate me.
And Kirk is just angry all the time.
Why'd you say my name?
He's just angry and dumb. And then they start a fire with wood they got from somewhere, even though we've never seen any wood on the fucking planet.
There's no trees.
There's no trees. I'm Spock. I'm Spockity Spock. Vulcan mind meld. A star exploded. It went supernova. And just, one star destroyed everything?
And they even say that it was threatening the entire galaxy. No.
And then they have this thing called the red matter, which is just a giant red sphere with a mirror on it. What would you do? That's the easiest CGI thing anybody's ever done.
It's just a very simple reflective shader. There's not even any material there.
Yeah, it's completely just red.
And
then there's this CGI shot.
I did a very similar effect and showed you that, where it was like the metal ball composited into the scene to show you what a HDRI map does. Remember that?
Right, yeah.
All it is using a HDRI map to project reflections onto the sphere, and it's one of the easiest visual effects you can do.
By the way, having a triangle chair seems like a really bad idea.
That's going to really stick into your neck.
Right? For especially an old man. So anyway, Nero and Spock. So we get all the information that we didn't get earlier. And this is supposed to be a revelation, and
it's like, oh, we're on a
Kirk is
different
supposed to be like,
timeline.
oh, okay, I get it now. I'll be a good guy now. Then McCoy and Spock argue, and it turns out
And then
that
they
there's actually
appear
an
in this
outpost
tiled
on this
bathroom.
fucking base. And then there's
He's
what's
just
this guy's
on this
name again?
outpost
Simon
by
Peggleston?
himself. Why is this outpost here? What is it? Is its purpose? And then he
Why
says,
does he have monitors
well,
from 2004?
I teleported Admiral Archer's dog Porthos onto a planet.
Oh, I
But
am Scottish.
That dog at this point would be 100 and something years old, and Archer would be even older. I can't remember what I worked it out to exactly of what the age of Porthos and Archer would be. And then I kind of made the joke of, no wonder Starfleet's so fucking crap at fighting wars. Most of the Admiralty is just old men who refuse to die.
I like how this Starfleet base is just a parking lot somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
With the same model that they've had earlier in the movie. Very convenient. And with this, what is this? What's this, Shiny? What is the function of this?
Some plastic which they have printed on.
Science fiction. Anyway, Chris Pine's
Remember,
still angry
there was
and
something which
confused
I
the whole
noticed
movie.
about this set when I was watching it the one of the other times, but I can't remember what it was. Never mind.
I don't know. I'm just literally eating popcorn to this because it's.
Oh,
ridiculous.
those bars are something I just noticed. They're just ones that you can buy for random construction.
Right, of course. It's just random shit.
Because I I remember seeing those like in parks sometimes when they use them for building climbing frames and such, or when they use them for making railings, or even as what is it, scaffolding. You see those little clamps which are on the side of
Yep.
what they're using it to attach together.
I don't mind that as much as I hate
Yeah.
everything else.
But
Oh,
I'm still trying to remember
agree,
what
though,
else I
agree.
noticed about this set when I was watching it before. But I can't remember it right now anyway.
What's important to me is that they invent transwarp beaming so that they can beam all the way onto the ship, and then they just show up.
And
on
that's
the
just
ship.
so that the whole sidetrack was that they could have introduce Leonard Nimoy, have a bunch of backstory, introduce oh, fuck, I can't remember his name now.
Scotty.
Scotty. They introduce Scotty, and Scotty just suddenly becomes the main engineer. When wouldn't the ship already have a main engineer?
And there's no people in here. There's no people in the engine room.
Yeah, and the engine room's just some
Tubes.
some tubes in a
just a series of
brewery
tubes.
somewhere.
It's the internet.
It looks like the set of Rise of the Cyberman.
Look at the CGI, by the way.
Oh, that looks terrible. In the Rise of the Cyberman there. In the Rise of the Cybermen, they use the set of a brewery as like the factory of where they're making the Cybermen. But funnily enough, that works better because it's set in the modern day. It's not set on a spaceship in 300 years.
Look at how ugly this is.
Yeah, it looks terrible.
What are you looking at, Cupcake? This brewery?
Well, you're looking for a free beer?
And then Spock and Kirk are angry at each other again, and they get into a fighty fight.
It's just like, oh no, I've been compromised. I've got
And
to.
Spock is like, ah. And then Kirk's like, I'm in charge now. I'm the eye hole man.
I was commanded to. I was upgraded to commander for some bizarre reason.
He's now in charge of the flagship for no reason.
I understand somewhat promoting Spock to captain.
By the way,
But
Spock's
even then,
father
it wouldn't even be like a promotion to captain. He would just be temporarily taking command of the ship.
Spock's father's in this because Sarek. So that's another meme. That's just a reference.
Mm-hmm. Wait, are they using just random panels?
Yeah.
That looks like just something you would buy and then
Just
they just
random
stacked
shit.
it up. I remember they used crates in Red Dwarf.
I like that the arch
There's a
looks
sci-fi
like-
wall.
This arch looks like the next
Holodeck
generation
arch.
Yeah. Somebody was referencing that. Blah blah blah, Mr. Spock. Let's all work as a team now. To defeat
Let's
the
say
bad
if we
guy.
warp into the moon of, let's say Titan.
Oh yeah, there's a bad guy. I forgot about that. We're
No, but
all working
you
as a
just-
team. Go on.
They just warp into Titan because it's somehow going to mask their approach.
Right, right. And there's the laser again for some reason. The little
The
anchor.
one which was dropped.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
And
and
then
then
oh,
they
look at this
just
shot.
come out of Titan for the
That
shot.
looks so bad. Now look at how bad that particle looks now.
It's
Dun, 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 brown wah.
Some-
Saturn is large, but not that small. In the background, that's weird looking. Why is there dust in that particular spot? Scale is fucked in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, Scotty's out of the engine room.
Yeah, I think it is the
Why is
scaling
Scotty
of the
not in
fluid.
the engine room?
So when it's coming out of the atmosphere, it's the scaling of the fluid effect, because it just looks like some smoke that you would see of like the size of maybe a person or maybe like a vehicle. It doesn't look like smoke on the size of a capital ship.
So now they're in the big evil set.
Mm-hmm.
They go
Oh,
out
and
to
they
fight.
recreated that shot in Into Darkness as well when they rise out of the ocean.
Oh yeah, they did. Same ship. Now they're in a spooky gunfight. They fight the guy. Spock does the thing that other Spock couldn't do. Pew pew pew. The thing gets destroyed again. I
And
want
he
Spock
screams,
dead now. And then they fight just like at the. They have a high stakes leapy jump fight, just like the end of Star Trek Into Darkness.
And who would ever design the interior of a ship like this?
I don't know.
With just
So the
random ass platforms.
Same person that invented the end of the Naboo sequence, where they're just fighting on the platforms. All right.
But at least that wasn't on a spaceship. That was some kind of weird power plant. Whereas this doesn't make any sense for a spaceship.
Ambassador Spock. I want Spock dead now. Pew, 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 pew,
And then
lasers.
they fire everything.
Fire everything. Green. And they're shooting.
It reminds me of a joke from Hyperdrive, where they say, "Oh, what did you fire? Oh, everything. What target did you pick? Oh." The implication that they just fired all their weapons at nothing. And that's a comedy.
So then Spock flies the ship into the ship, just like how George flew the ship into the ship. And they emerge together.
And then it creates
Red matter.
another black hole. But instead of sending them back in time, this one actually acts like a black hole and crushes them.
Which is awesome. Except now they're stuck.
I love how it's like, we're willing to lend you some kind of assistance. And then Spock goes, could we just kill them? And then Kirk goes, oh, no, that's what I was planning, but I was trying to be, diplomatic and logical. It's like, nah, I don't want to be diplomatic and logical. I want to kill these bitches.
I believe the human term is, fuck that shit.
We're going to fuck them up.
Yeah, let's kick their ass.
And
So
then
blah, blah, blah,
they
pew, pew,
they launch the warp cores, plural, into the singularity.
Plasma
to
coil.
Make it explode.
Launch the warp core. Then they blast it. Scotty goes, I'm giving
What
it
else
all
you got?
she's got, Captain!
If we eject the core and throw it into the gravitational pull, it might fling us away from it.
If I go boom, then maybe the boom will send us home. And then there's a gravitational pull on the screen while it's cracking. Oh my goodness, shaking lens flare. Spock, I want Spock dead now. Oh, we did it. Everything's okay. Smile time.
Yay.
Let's go back to Earth. Da 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 da. Father, no, it's me, Spockletons.
Old Spock.
I always loved you. Yes, you're a narcissist. Fuck you, Batman. I'll never see you again, except in the next one. Oh, really? Yes. Also, Romulus has no moon, or whatever. Vulcan has no moon. So then the Vulcans are like, blah, blah, blah. Live long and prosper.
and
then
they just
go,
accept.
Then they just
Kirk
give
being
him a
captain.
captaincy. And then Bruce Greenwood's like, all right, you can take over now.
And he's like,
like,
well, I'm going to be an admiral. Fuck you.
I'm captain now. I went from cadet to captain. I'm the hero. Screw all of you. And then they do the whole, all right, everybody, we're going out there. I'm captain
It
now.
reminds
I'm
me
gonna
of
sit in the chair and
when
cross my
Nog
legs.
says, wait, if I was in command of the ship, then everyone have to call me captain? And then O'Brien says, well, if you were in command, there would be no one left for you to order around and to call you captain.
Eat any
It's
good
like, oh,
books lately,
alright.
Worf? So then Spock gets on board and he's like, I'm Spock now.
They've got that like a weird grain on the walls. And like to add a bit of detail, but it looks so weird that they're not smooth.
I hate this ship. It looks stupid. It looks like,
What-
yeah,
what's-
you're right.
What's
That's
that weird?
stucco plastic.
What's that farm in the background? Well, it looks like some kind of render farm.
Someone's
Some
playing,
kind of generic tech.
someone's playing
farm.
Minecraft on one of those panels. I like how there's like multiple thrusters.
That guy is playing Gallagher. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
So then they go, these are the voyages of this ship. Directed by J.J. Abrams. So
And
then
this is also made by Action Essentials as well, with all these little orbs in space.
So like the whole fucking plot change. Like as soon as we get to the point where they end up in the battle area, the plot just completely gives up on any of the development of any of the characters from that point. It just then becomes, we're learning to work as a team now. Everything's falling apart. No. Look, here's Spock. Here's... And then, like, as soon as it gets to this point, when he hits the planet, then it's like, boom, Spock. Boom, Scotty. Boom. We're back on the Enterprise. Boom. Spock off the bridge. Boom. Like, cupcake. And then they get into the fight, and then they figure out how to win the fight. It's like the most generic possible story you can make, with a bunch of nonsense added in, and a bunch of references that don't mean anything. And then you have a bunch of space Nazis clapping at the end, just like the old Star Trek. By the way, I love how it's like Starfleet, but you don't see any of the Federation with any of the other races. It's just like random fucking races that they made up. There's no Andorians, there's no other Vulcans here. It's just a bunch of Starfleet people.
You see a single Orion.
He's wearing the same uniform he wore with the same rank. Like, where's the rank pips or whatever? Now he's a captain, he wears the same uniform? This is dumb. So that was really trash, but somehow people got away with it, which is why it's amazing that they made something even worse after that. It's amazing. Star Trek Into Darkness is so much worse than that.
Somehow.
Yeah.
I think Star Trek Into Darkness was kind of where people were getting, like, starting to catch up with this isn't good. Because especially when it got to Beyond, and no one watched Beyond, it failed spectacularly.
Yeah, I didn't watch Beyond. Every time I sit down to watch it, I get bored.
Oh, it's really cool if we... Well, I think the element which I do like is that there is a bit more of an explorer, unknown worlds kind of aspect to it. So it in that way, it does feel a lot more like Star Trek, rather than just it's like hanging around on Earth for half the movie, then going to Vulcan, then this other random planet. You know, it's all known. Whereas Beyond is a little bit of it's going to a planet which is unknown, and a little bit more alien. But then you have them playing sabotage to destroy a fleet of alien hive bees. It's like, oh, these drones have to use like some kind of frequency to communicate with each other. Oh, what if we broadcast music to interfere with their pathing? And then it's like, oh, that's a great idea. And then they use sabotage and broadcast it to interrupt the organization of the weird drones, and that just causes them to spontaneously explode. You then see not the Enterprise, it's the other ship that they just found, and it's just wave surfing a bunch of these drones, and it's like it having all these explosions behind it. It's so stupid.
I'm just going through Star Trek Into Darkness right now, and it's like, it's so much worse. It's so much worse. It's impressively bad in comparison to the original one. You want to share the screen real quick?
Oh, sorry, I didn't notice. All right, I'll let up.
Okay, so right off the bat, I just want to say, in line with the same fucking thing that I was saying before, the opening sequence is kind of interesting looking, but what I really wanted to point out is how much this should remind you, like the red color. Everybody's like, yeah, you know, Crate was kind of interesting because it was reddish. I was like, JJ did that. It's a red planet with red dirt. Why am I supposed to be impressed?
With the trees being white and the foliage being red, it's like the color swap of Crate, where it's Crate is more like white and red,
But it's
whereas
like
this
red
is
dirt.
like red and white.
I'm just. Anyway, so they're breaking the Prime Directive right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
They go to a planet. They're trying to do some shit, and then they try to use cold fusion to stop.
A volcano.
Yeah, okay, that doesn't work. So, that's the two things right off the bat that are stupid. The next thing that's stupid is that the ship is underneath the water instead of just being in space.
Yeah,
Why
they
did
could easily
dive
just
into it? It
beam
doesn't
them
make any
up.
sense. Just beam them up. They're like, oh, we can't do that because they might think, it's beaming technology, or, the natives or whatever. It's like, what? Who gives a shit? So then Spock is like, all right, I'm just gonna die now. And then they rip off Star Trek Next Generation again because the idea of these natives worshipping the Starship Enterprise is taken straight out of an episode of Star Trek Next Generation where Who Watches the Watchers. So they rip off Who Watches the Watchers. Then there's your coming out of some underneath. You know what I mean?
It's a better looking effect.
Because it's water, but it still looks like shit. It still doesn't look like real water. Look at that. Look at how it like kind of just hangs. It's not good. It's just a particle effect. So they get out of that for some reason, and then they're like, all right, let's save Spock. They save Spock, but then whoops. See, this is this fucking red dirt I'm talking about. Star Trek Into Darkness. Da-da-da. So then we immediately cut to
Mickey
London.
from Doctor Who has a problem with his child, so
Exactly.
he suicide bombs a place
Yeah.
for Khan.
Well, not yet. He just agrees to do it for Khan, who's just looks menacing.
So it's like, I can save your daughter, inject my blood into her, and then suicide yourself.
Well, like the blood of Jesus or something? It's so weird.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have the exact same setup where we introduce Kirk into it again, where he's sleeping with somebody, because he's just such a horn dog, which is not what his character really was, ever. And then we go to Starfleet HQ, and this is just the Getty Museum in Los Angeles. And Spock is wearing a hat.
it is.
Yeah, it's just the Getty Museum. And they're wearing their Nazi uniforms. And they're like, all right, I want to go check out the next exhibit. And then all the uniforms look like the Star Trek, the motion picture uniforms for some reason, like the same colors. And they're in an office building, just another generic office building. And it looks like he's fine. He just needs a cane, whatever. And then Pike is like, all right, I need you guys for a mission. I need you guys just do one more mission for me. It's a real favor.
Well, no, he gets demoted. He demotes Kirk back
it's a
to
mission.
Commander.
No, it's a mission. He's
No,
on
no,
a,
no.
you're a
He's not being
commander
given
now.
a mission.
No, that's your mission.
It's Kirk says, "Oh,
Kirk,
wait,
your
what are
mission
they
is
going
to get back to Captain." Because the movie needs him to get back to Captain somehow.
But he gets back to Captain almost immediately. But this
Right.
is him being scorned for his actions at the beginning
You
of the
fucked
film.
up. Right. So then we have the blood scene. Yay, baby's
Wait, was
better.
the British flag out?
Yeah, it's the British flag for some reason.
I love that they've just put just spaceships.
Because it's
into the sky.
landing! Landing! And it's really just downtown LA.
And they've made some sci-fi version of the red buses you can see over there in the background.
Yep. And then, Kelvin. Look, it's Kelvin again. And we have that stupid ass angle.
Mickey,
Dutch angle.
Mickey.
Blimey.
I just look at him and think Mickey from Doctor Who.
More Dutch angles because everything's off. And then he's like, I'm going to take an elevator up. And then he's no longer in London. He's in a space area that's completely made out of CGI. And then he's like, all right, time for me to blow up. And then he blows up. And that's what London looks like
In the future.
today. No, right now. So then Captain Spurk is back drinking again. He's just like, I'm a drinking guy.
I'm in the same
man.
bar.
I'm drinking again. And it's like, remember when we were in that
Wait, does he
bar
have mutton
last time?
chops? Pike?
Yeah, he does. Like, remember when we were in that bar that one time? He's like, yeah, I remember that bar. He's like, I don't like bars anymore because I always get drunk in them. And then blah, blah, blah. Now we're at the other part of the Getty Museum, and it's nighttime. And there's a secret mission, and RoboCop man is there. And then we find out, look, things are happening that are bad. We found these things. And he's like, are you sure about these things?
Khan built this in a cave with a box of scraps.
I'm not sure about these things, boss. And then the boom goes blow up.
I love the revelation as well. It's like, oh, what happens when you get a terrorist attack? All of these important people in the same room, and then all of a sudden it's like the realization, and the ship comes up. How does a random ship just come up to Starfleet HQ and start blowing up one of the admiral's offices?
Yeah, they just, it's just whatever.
Also, the realization is as well. So when that happened in Doctor Who, that was like a conspiracy. The person which called all of the people to the room to assassinate them, that was the guy who wanted them dead and ended up killing them. Whereas in this is just some random fuckers, and they would basically just get in a room over any situation. And how would Khan know which meeting room exactly they would be in? Because it's not like they put numbers on the side of the building. Did he go to every office room and it's like, okay, no, they're not in there. No, that's not them. No, that's not them either.
How do you like the switch from the aspect ratio just randomly in the movie?
What? Oh my god, it does.
You didn't notice that? It goes from IMAX.
I didn't notice that. Just a random aspect ratio
just
switch.
Like for the close-up shots. And then he looks like Steven Seagal. I'm dead now. No, bad guy, kill me.
He mind rapes him as he's dying.
Yeah, and then they leave the building and it's CGI, and then like I feel bad.
And
about
how
that.
does Khan teleport himself all the way to fucking what was it? The Klingon homeworld.
Transwarp drive.
Transwarp beaming.
Transwarp memeing. So then they get into an argument with Admiral Bad Guy.
And Admiral Bad Guy has his big bad secret ship on his table
and
for some reason.
Inside, they look like they're inside a car sales place.
That doesn't look like an office at all, does it?
No, it looks like they sell luxury vehicles there. Like it's a Mercedes dealership or something. And then they're like, Starfleet needs to be soldiers and there's missiles. And then they're like, all right, that's cool. And then they have different uniforms that make them look like snakes for some reason. And like it's like just what kind of military would use that texture? That look again, non-breathable fabrics, really ugly.
And they introduce
Sexy comes in.
What's her fuck from Wrath of Khan?
Alice Eve, yeah.
Yeah, and she's really young and attractive here.
And she takes off her pants for some reason and everything. And then Simon Pegg looks old. And they have these missiles. And for some reason, inside the missiles are peoples.
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd put peoples inside of a missile.
Well, I think the way they explain it is that
also, what is this
Khan is
like
trying to smuggle his people away from the Admiral, so they stopped being used as a hostage. But then the Admiral found out Khan put his people into the missiles and then started using them to hold him hostage again.
So then these guys are talking, and they're like, "This is a room
what is
with
that
lasers in the background."
So that's supposed to be the core of the ship, the one which Kirk goes into later to kick the warp core back into place. And it looks so bad. It just looks
like a laser or like some kind of like particle accelerator or something.
Yeah.
So they debate metaphysics and the existence.
It's like, no, I'm not letting this on my ship, Captain, and let's. I get to see what's inside them, and then
Wait, are these transparent? So they're wearing their uniforms underneath, and these jackets just have transparent plastic windows, so you can see.
Yeah.
People. That is retarded. Anyway, so they get on the turbo lift, but for some reason it takes time now. And they're on.
Well,
the
it's because
ship,
they need the scene between the characters.
CGI Halo level. Warp factor fast. And then now he's wearing a different outfit.
Oh yeah, because he's now the head engineer.
Then we have sexy again, and they're debating about going fast. Missiles, fast, blah blah blah. Just useless melodrama. It doesn't mean anything. Then they're gonna go down to the planet to meet with John Walker for some reason. On YOLO. And then they're in a ship where they all can't look at each other for thematic reasons, and it's really boring. And they're just like debating like.
Well, they're arguing about
Rainier.
their relationship.
Yeah, it's really boring. And then they get into a fly down.
Like, how do they just go to Kronos out of
They just
nowhere?
go, and then when they get there, they're
Kronos
greeted by 40K
is not defended at
soldiers.
all. There is no fleet. There is no sensor network. You can just stroll into the Klingons' homeworld, and they all just send a few ships after you. And this is Klingons, apparently.
And this guy has an umbrella for some reason, and he's holding it like
Oh,
a
can you
gun.
see that guy's eyes underneath his
Yeah,
helmet?
you can.
No,
Because they're like helmets, but they're not really
no,
helmets.
the other one, the one that's to the left of him, and he
Oh,
doesn't even
yeah.
look like a Klingon. He's got like his eyes are very clearly
Yeah, you
white
can
and
see
not
them.
brown.
Yeah, yeah. For some reason, the Klingons look like this, which is really stupid looking. Look
It's
how
the-
fake that skin looks.
It looks like Discovery, and how they've made. In fact, no, I would say the Klingons in Discovery look even worse.
No, yeah, I don't. No, I don't agree. This is the worst I've seen Klingons. It just doesn't even look real. They look like it just doesn't look like a real person. And then they're all like, "I'm gonna choke you out, bitch." And then she's like, "Nope." Then there's a fight, and then this guy comes out with a Gatling laser.
Okay, Glib, very quickly, are you really trying to tell me that
Pew,
that
pew, pew,
looks
pew, pew.
worse?
This
than
is garbage. No, this is garbage.
Look at this. Look at this.
Okay,
You
that's
telling
also
me-
good. No, that looks worse. You're right.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, that
exactly.
looks worse. That does look worse. He looks like he's cosplaying as Godzilla at a furry convention. But anyway, let's go back to the because
As always, I'm right.
well, when you can prove it. So this guy is doing he does this dance, like he sweeps this guy with this weird ass Gatling laser from a Van Helsing or something. For no reason. He could have just shot that guy with the other thing he has in his hand. And he's not moving. And he's not getting hit. He's just
But he's
standing
superhuman.
there like a perfect target. And so everybody's just running around like like idiots. You know what I mean? Like this guy's running over here, this guy's running over here. So it makes it look like it's wow, things are happening. This guy's got a look at this bat'leth.
That's one crazy
Trident
ass
bat'leth.
bat'leth.
But he's not using it because who would use it
Yeah.
actually a thing in a fight? He just shoots the guy with a pistol. Like he can't even see where he's aiming. Pew pew pew, green. Cut
Was
to
that a
completely
flintlock
different angle.
pistol, or was it just something that looks a bit like it?
It just works. So this guy shoots his purple space bazooka. And he's got a mask on to protect himself from the Delta variant. And then this
that
guy
looks
dies.
horrible.
Like it bounces off the ground and goes directly into him, which is all. Oh, look at that! Oh, that looks terrible. Oh, terrible. And then these guys die, and then this thing happens where he gets kicked on the ground, but then he doesn't die because he shoots him, which is like maybe the guy shouldn't have been using a melee weapon, and because he's got like a pistol like right here. So like, what did he think was gonna happen? So anyway, he dies because he gets shot in the chest,
And there's blood.
and the
blood
blood is not the
splatter.
same color as it was in.
It's purple.
It's blurple. So then Chris Pine looks angry again because that's what he does in movies. Anyway, that fight scene goes on for too long, and then this guy comes out and it's like, I'm John Connor. of Mars. I'm evil. And then Chris Pine looks at him. And then they capture him. And it's just like...
well, first, Chris Pine then beats the shit out of him.
Well, yeah, he does the thing. But
He
then
doesn't do anything.
it doesn't even matter. Because he wants to be captured. And then there's HAL 9000 behind him. You know what I mean? Just like there, because that's a thing. And
well,
then,
HAL 9000's also on the wall a bit down the corridor there.
Well, he's also there too. Yeah, I mean, you got to have two. That's HAL 10,000. So he gets captured because the Dark Knight got captured in that one movie with the Joker in it, and they want to rip off that Joker movie. So then he's like, I'm Khan, and they're like, I don't know who that is. See you later. And so then they leave, and then there's this
What's
guy,
the alien. Yeah,
he's the receptionist, and he's like. Khan's like, can I get a glass of milk? And he's like, I don't know what kind of milk you're talking about. That could apply to a lot of different races, and we're in space. Fuck you. So then, anyway, then you know they talk, and he's like, my name's Khan. He's like, I still don't know who that is.
You need to check what's behind Saturn. And then he goes and rings up Scotty, and Scotty's like, I'm not doing anything for him. He's an asshole. Maybe I'll actually do things for him.
And then we get a really bad CGI background. And then we cut to them in a bar, and Scotty looks really old.
What even is that weird alien thing that they invented for 2009? I don't think we brought that up at all, did we?
It's just a guy. And then you have people walking around a ship where they could totally fall down if they fell over. Like
you slightly trip and you trip to your death.
But it looks really cool. So then they talk on their cell phones, and they're like, hey, I'm on this ship. And I don't remember this part because it's where Alice Eve takes off her pants for no reason. And I felt like that was really important to have in the movie.
I find it funny that J.J. Abrams got like a Woman's Ally Award when he did this in one of his fucking films. Like he just had a random scene where she's in her undies.
And he just looks surprised. He's like, oh.
Oh, like he's never seen tits before.
What are these titties? I do not know this. So then I don't, and then they go to the planet of Iceland where they open up a box. And inside the box is people. He's like, I got my hand stuck in the box. It's like a Chinese finger trap. And then Spock's like, no, you can't say that. That's racist. So they get out of the Chinese finger trap.
And there's no warhead inside.
No,
it's
there's
just
people. There's just people for no reason.
And then behind Saturn, there's this weird Death
They're
Star
making Star
thing.
Destroyers, yeah.
And then they're making Star Destroyers.
And then they're like, oh no, who gave that order? And then they're like, let's talk to our guy in the brig. And they're like, I'm Khan. It's like, I still don't know who that is.
It's like, I am Khan.
No, I know you're Khan, but I don't know what that means. I'm Khan.
I love how they take the piss out of it.
I'm Khan.
How it should have ended. It's like, I am Khan, and all the characters look confused. What is that face?
Somebody screen cap that.
Okay, I'm gonna screen cap that, and that's gonna be in my Discord as a sticker.
You can't even break a rule. This is like, I don't even know what that means. I'm Khan. You're not Khan. I'm Khan.
Right, okay, I'm gonna quickly upload that to my Discord.
He looks like a fish.
It's such a funny face.
And then they have the Dark Knight conversation where he's in jail. And then Kirk is like, I don't want to believe him. It turns out there's a big ship. Captain RoboCop's ship.
Oh my god. Admiral RoboCop is actually part of Section 31. And he wants a war with the Klingons for some reason. Why does he want a war with the Klingons? Don't know.
Because in Star Trek 6, there was a thing that was like that. And remember when there was a thing that was like that? So then Kirk is like, I'm President Kirk. You can't do that in my neighborhood. And then this guy has a uniform that has The Shining on it for some reason. That like pattern from The Shining where they go to room 237 and it's on the carpet. I don't know why. And I don't know why his ship has different uniforms from the rest of Starfleet. And it's just ripping off Wrath of Khan again because it's two people on different ships. But Khan is on this ship. So RoboCop and I'm going to do a thing. Corbomite maneuver. Russian guy says nuclear vessels. And then they go and they try to hatch a plan. And then things go wrong. And then she's like, why are things going wrong? Daddy, stop killing my boyfriend. I love my boyfriend. Please, fuck your boyfriend.
And then he teleports her away.
And then he's like, shit. Like, all right, wait a minute. I know we had a bargaining chip. Please still don't shoot us.
I just noticed that random bald woman.
All right. And then he's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to rip off Wrath of Khan. And so then they do that. They go, all right, let's rip off Wrath of Khan.
Those giant, like, space cannons, and then Scotty just turns them off. It's like, Captain, you got no idea what I find behind Saturn.
Look, Captain, I'm in IBM server room. Maybe we can put together an algorithm to make my accent believable. So then Kirk is like, your accent is terrible, Scotty. And then Scotty's like, all right, I'll blow up the ship for you. And then Spock is like, you can't blow up the ship if we don't help him. And then Kirk is like, all right, what if we work as a team? Remember when we did that?
What if we fire ourselves at the ship?
It's like, Captain, you can't do that. You're the captain and the first officer. You can't just leave the ship. Fuck that. Fuck uniforms. Nobody knows what rank we are anyway. I'm out of here, bitch. So
I fired wave after wave of my own crew.
And Khan is like, remember when you did that Kobayashi Maru test and there was no win situation? And Kirk is like, what? Yeah, I'm not no win situation. Nah, psych, bitch. And then there's Tribbles, and McCoy says, damn it, Jim. And then they stare at each other, and then it's like, all right, time for a mission. And then they decide to do a mission. They get into spacesuits that have lights that show directly on their face because it's harder to see that way. And then they go, let's go. And it's like Star Trek 6 where they have to get over to the other ship, but they fly in the ship. All right, go through the debris field now. We're going off course. Oh shit, Scotty gets captured by the laser man who calls him Cupcake. And then Kirk's face shield's gonna die. Better go faster.
And all of this debris.
I don't think he's gonna make it, Spock. He's not gonna make it. I have to make him make it. I'll make him make it. I'm superior.
And then they've got this giant. How the hell's the problem with that dude's head?
This guy was born in the Matrix, so he's got the thing in the back of his head. Then David
really
Prowse,
difficult.
Darth Vader, has his shoulders out because of the weird cut of that shirt. His delts are really popping out of his shirt. Very insulting.
That is a
And
weird.
they're in
shirt.
they're in
And
some like
they've
projector
got this
room.
huge hangar or whatever it is, and the only access to the hangar is this tiny little thing that's like a meter wide. Look, what is the purpose of this room? It looks
Right,
like some kind of storage.
Right. It's just for them to land in and then slide really far and then almost fly out of.
But then what would the point of that hatch be either? You've got this huge room that goes to this hatch, and I can't think of a possible reason why this would be on this ship.
I love how their solution is just, let's just go attack their ship head on, secret mission style.
And then
they
he
call
just
up
randomly
Spock.
calls
he
up
calls
old
up Spock, and he's like, who's Khan again? And he's like, oh, Khan was a big bad guy. Better not fight him. Run away. No, I'm
You
not
know,
running
you're going to be
away.
in so much pain if you watch the video game tie into this.
Oh, I love it. It's so funny.
Like, have you seen the video game prequel?
I have seen it. And so now they're on
Got
like
the Gorn in it. Remember the Gorn?
This is the same place where they filmed the Laser Core set. It's just a different part of the building, and that's the ship. There's another annoying thing. It's some server room somewhere, and that's what a ship looks like. That's excellent. I love it. And Spock says, like, here, Spock, just so you know, in the future, always remember to floss and brush your teeth. And then he says bye. And then
Don't buy that album that comes out in like 2 years. It was absolutely terrible.
And then Nimoy's like, you'll never be as popular as me because I'm the OG Spock. You're just a knockoff.
Never go to Delta 5. You'll get a terrible STD from one of the women there.
And then Khan is like, I'm in charge now. And then they lasers. Oh no. Spock, you gotta use your emotions, Spock. No. Blah, 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 blah. Like, this is so boring. They're just, like, fighting their way to the place so that they can press F to initiate the cutscene. And then Kirk has a gun at the guy, and he's like, listen, you fucking idiot, I'm RoboCop, and you should be on my side and shoot lasers. I tried to kill you. And all your friends, fuck you. And then Kirk is like, that's crazy. You're crazy. No, you're crazy. Isn't that crazy? Seriously, your dad's crazy. And then fight scene, and then don't kill me. I'm gonna kill you. That guy killed that guy. And then Spock is reacting, and then I fall asleep in the theater, and then I wake up and I go, oh, I was having a dream about SpongeBob. And then they keep arguing about shit, and then there's missiles. And they're in the brig. And then there's pizza rolls that start. Pizza rolls.
Pizza time.
Pizza rolls. And then the pizza roll. Oh, there's this one. What's wrong with your face? And then there's fighting. And this guy's wearing sunglasses. And then she's got her titties out. And then lens flare.
Tits? What's tits?
Oh.
Very important, Glib. Where are the tits?
Okay, and then remember when I said earlier this was a bad design idea? Well, it was! Oh no, the ship's going sideways. Ah!
Yeah,
no!
As I was saying before, I'm fine
Give it
with
all she's
somewhat
got,
cool looking designs over function, but the problem is when you actively point out the problems with your own design. You don't want to be drawing attention to how non-functional and stupid it is.
So then they go to the brewery that makes radioactive beer, and they're running around looking for the exit of the next scene. And then, oh, they're gonna fall this side, just like the other area. We're gonna fall sideways. Oh, don't let me die. I won't let you die. Yay. Okay, let's run to this room. All right, I have a plan. Let's put a paper clip. And we'll hook it up to a Raspberry Pi. I'll type in the secret code, and we'll get hamburgers out of the replicator. Then they run upstairs, and there's like, oh shit, stairs have gone sideways again. The ship's falling into the space. Oh my god, the ship. No, the ship's going down. Better
I love how
check
it started
the,
as like
check the beer. Check the beer.
discussion about Star Trek 2009, and it's become Glib's ad-libbed version of Into Darkness.
Because the plot's retarded at this point.
Yes, it is.
So he's like, all right, the beer's okay. All right, better eject all the broken beers bottles. And so then they're like, all right, we got to turn on this particle accelerator. Quick. Do you remember the password, Jim? And then Jim's like, nah, man, I don't remember the password. We got to manually hit that shit. Just like my VHS back home. So then they go in and they go, oh, shit. And I have to manually do this shit. I'm going to do it. And then Scotty's like, no, you can't do that. That's a rip-off of Wrath of Khan. And he's like, fuck that, I'm going to rip off Wrath of Khan. So then he leaves Scotty behind. He climbs into the Jeffries tube, because that was a thing. And he's like, I'm in a Jeffries tube, just like your mom. And then so he just climbs through like Gordon Freeman, ends up inside of a CGI. And inside the CGI is a bunch of different HAL 9000s.
It's a slightly different...
This is the espresso machine, he realizes. He's like, oh shit, I've only been in the beer area. I never saw the espresso machine.
It's slightly out of line for some reason. somehow something has knocked that out of line, and that's why the entire ship is non-functional.
He's like, oh my god, this is what Luke Skywalker did in Return of the Jedi. I gotta fix that shit. So then the ship's falling out of orbit. It's gonna die. And he's like, oh shit, all I have to do is just use the Force. So he kicks the espresso machine back in and gets his Americano to go. Because, like, you know, he's got a job to do. So he does that. And then Spock is like, fire the bottom jets. And then they don't die. They've come out of the smoke. Just like in the beginning of the movie. Because it's come full circle, right? Just
By the way, I put the Khan as a sticker on the Discord.
Yeah. So then they're in the sky and everyone's like, yay! Oh, wait a minute, where's Kirkington? And he's like, Kirk, no! You're ripping off Wrath of Khan! He's like, Jim, he's already ripping off Wrath of Khan. And so he's like, no, don't rip off Wrath of Khan. He's like, fuck you, Spock, I'm ripping this shit off, baby. And then Spock is like, you have always shall be a ripoff of the OG. And he's like, nah, man, you're not going to let me die a ripoff. He's like, oh, you're a fucking ripoff, dog. So then he dies a ripoff, and they do the hand thing.
And then
'cause they're
Spock
gay for
becomes
each
a
other.
superhero.
And then Spock is like, corn on the cob! And then Scotty's like, oh, this is a ripoff of Wrath of Khan. And Uhura's like, man,
I
need
love
coffee.
his Scotty's reaction to
Save that.
to Kirk's death. He's like slightly teary and a bit frowny. Like someone just dropped his fucking sandwich on the ground. He's like, you son of a bitch.
So then
No,
he's
no,
like,
no, go back. I was gonna save it. I was
Oh,
gonna
okay.
screenshot it.
There you go.
There we go. Got it.
Okay. And he's like, yeah, thanks, Obama! Does he go cross-eyed?
Oh my god, he does go cross-eyed. Oh my god, he does.
Gee, this movie's so dumb.
Why Oh,
This is the best show on television. So then the ship's going, I'm going down, barely missed you. Dude, did you see that? And he's like, wow, that was close. Because I need a line. And then... What's up with all these pauses? Oh my god.
do you want me to screenshot that as well?
Yes, that's the most horrifying image I've seen all day. Oh my god.
Well, we're gonna have a lot of Discord stickers.
I'm dying. So, Khan's like, okay, I'm turning into Karen mode.
Well, how do we make it look like Khan is like slightly disheveled, and it's like, look, we make his hair messy.
Yeah, just make his hair, and everything's blue for some reason. I like this guy.
Why
This
is
guy's just on
everyone
the
wearing
phone.
sunglasses? Look at the 3 people in a line wearing
There's
sunglasses.
twins for some reason. And they're all wearing the same brand. It's like, damn, this is really popular.
It's the 3 people in line with it.
Look at all these weird ass extras.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so then the ship comes down and is like, oh no.
Destroys what's his fuck island?
Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks, and then it turns into CGI. Oh my god, look at how the whole thing is CGI. I like how look, CGI, no film grain. Cut to film grain. No film grain.
Aspect ratio.
Film grain. Aspect ratio.
Aspect ratio.
Oh, it's just beautiful. And so everybody's. I love how JJ Trek is always just. Whenever you cut, you have to cut to somebody walking in through the door.
The thing is, film grain is incredibly easy to do. It is
I love
literally
film
an
grain.
After Effects filter you can throw on and easily control the intensity.
So now Spock is just going completely insane, and they're flying, and oh my god, CGI havoc is happening, and really like, I wish I had something to say about the plot, but I have nothing to say. There's nothing to this. He's just running away. At this point, he's just running from Spock specifically. Spock beams around. He just starts running like a total spaz. For like no backup, nothing. Just run into the building. Run up some stairs. Run down the street. And then this is LA again. This is really funny that like this is just downtown LA. Underneath this bridge is where they filmed the Dark Knight stuff and that kind of thing. It's a very popular bridge to use in LA.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And then, meanwhile, Kirk is dead. And he's like, he was more human than human. And Scotty looks old. And then...
And it's like, oh look.
Oh, he's dead.
We can...
Oh my god, what's this?
Triple came back to life when we injected blood into it.
The blood of Jesus. And then he's like, oh my god, this is science. I'm Frankenstein.
We've cured death.
Thank you, John Harrington guy. So they're still running around. Whoops. And then, I don't know how he gets onto the thing, but the CGI guy jumps, like they mat him into the scene, they composite him, right? And he just like easily grabs on, like no problem, you know, it's no problem because it's all CGI, so there's no problem. And then he's just like hanging on, but it's all cool. He's got a Vulcan neck press on the ship. So then he's like, okay, I'm on a ship now, and there's nowhere to go except fight. So they do that. And he's like, I'm gonna do a thing. But then it subverts your expectations. Because it's like, oh, but no, it didn't work. And Kirk is still dead, but like that's temporary. Death is not really important, you know.
Lens flare.
Damn it, Jim, I'm a reanimator, not a McCoy.
Damn it, we need him alive so we can use his blood to bring Kirk back.
So then he's gonna squeeze his head in just like Blade Runner, and then he's gonna do a mind meld, and then it just looks incredibly gay. It looks like two gay men being very violently intimate.
Da 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 da.
And he's like, oh, that wasn't sexy. And so then there's another one, just like in Mario games.
So they can use the same set and CGI model.
Yeah, exactly the same. So it's like, oh no, I have to do the thing. And so he does. He jumps down. And he's like, ow, that was a bad idea. And then he's going to fall, but it's okay because he doesn't. Oh, and then he's going to fall again because he gets his ass kicked. Oh. And then he doesn't get his ass kicked because what happens is Kirk dies again. No, he's still dead. So then McCoy's like, I'm not... Just come on, man.
Spock, stop being a superhero. We need you to keep getting him alive.
And then this guy can't beam him yet because no reason. Just because they keep moving, he can't beam them up.
Wait, I thought they fixed that in the last movie. They worked it out because he caught them while they were falling.
You can transwarp beam across the galaxy, but you can't beam them, you know, just trying to actually get them.
No, but that specific thing, to beam someone while moving, Chekhov managed that, didn't he?
I don't know.
I can do that! I can do that! And then he runs down the corridor while they're falling through the sky, and then he manages to beam them in.
I like how it looks like he punches him in the dick. Wow, right in the dick. Oh, my dick.
Oh.
And then he punches him in the dick again. Oh, my dick. Ah, I'm going to kiss you now. And he's like, no, I don't want to be kissed. This is inappropriate.
I think he's trying to crush his skull like he did the Admiral.
I'm trying to love you, Spock. So he doesn't choke him out.
And then Uhura
And then
appears
Uhura
behind them.
appears with a sexy ass skirt. Yeah, she's looking good in that. Yeah. And then she goes, Martha's his mother's name. And then she doesn't shoot him. Then she does shoot him.
She
and he's
stuns
like,
him once, and then he's like,
"Ow."
nah.
And then Spock takes him. She's like, Spock! Spock! And then Spock is like, fuck this. I'm gonna break his arm. Watch this shit. Oh, boom. And he flips him over. He's like, boom.
The breaker.
And it's all over. It is all up. And so then Spock is like, pow. I'm gonna punch you in the balls now. And he punches him like a total. Look at this shoulder. Look at how low his shoulders are. Terrible form. Go back to fight school, Spurk. And so he punches him in the face. He's like, ow.
I think she keeps screaming that, Spock, we need him alive. And then it's all he's doing is punching him in the face, though. And it's
Spock! I got bang! And then she punches him in the face like, I'm so in control of my emotions right now. Spock! Okay, then he keeps punching him. He's like, what?
I love that face of genuine confusion. It's like, what? What the fuck you on about, woman?
He's like, oh yeah, you're right. I shouldn't kill this guy because we need his blood to save everybody and make them immortal. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. So then it makes sense.
Don't they have like a bunch of the other mutants in storage? So couldn't they just use the blood of literally any of them?
Yeah, I guess so. And then Spock is like, whatever, man. I'm gonna punch him again. Pow! And he punches him like a total. Look at this.
What's
What
that
kind of
undercut
punch?
right there?
What is this? What is
He
this?
goes under and bop.
Did he punch himself in the face? Like, look at this. Look at this. Ah! He did like a Shoryuken. Shoryuken! So anyway, then everything's okay then, because now Kirk gets up and McCoy is like, damn it, Jim, I'm your doctor. And he's like, what year is
you
it?
were dead.
Did I die? I dreamt I was in a better movie. He's like, no, you idiot, no. You were just drunk. He's like, oh, yeah, I was really drunk. So then Spock comes in, he's like, yeah, I beat up the bad guy and we used blood to make you come back to life.
Logan M, he punched him so hard into the next scene.
And then they store the caskets in the beer cellar. And Khan goes back to sleep. Because that's what happened in Space Seed. Or something.
I love the reasoning of why they brought back Khan. And the reasoning why they woke up Khan was because they wanted someone to tell them how to design weapons better. Like, what is Khan going to do to tell them how to design weapons better? Yes, make them bigger and put more explosives in them and have more cannons on the ship. It's like, oh, thanks, Khan. I guess we would never have thought to make our explosives bigger.
And then Kirk talks to all the Nazis with his hat off outside, which is not uniform appropriate with his fake orange hair. Looks terrible. Talks about how peace wins the day, even though beating up the bad guy won the day. And Uhura and everybody is a Nazi. And then they're all like, yay. These are the voyages of the USS Mein Fuhrer.
I love how they forgot the character of Eva What's-Her-Fuck in Beyond. And that was the reason why she wasn't in the film. Because they legitimately forgot she was a character in the film.
Oh, you mean Eve Lawrence or
yeah,
Alice Eve or whatever? No, they didn't. They just didn't ask her back. She's not necessary.
No, from the director's commentary, they legitimately forgot about her character.
Oh my god. So anyway, he says these are the continuing voyages of the Star Schnips, and then
it's like a 5-year mission.
Blah 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 blah, and then the movie ends.
Why does the planet have like a Fresnel? Like one of in the outro, oh sorry, the credits, there's just a random planet with like just a Fresnel
I know,
around
right?
it, like this weird glow.
So, Star Trek 2009, there was a lot more going on to talk about. But the problem is Into Darkness is so devoid of any kind of... since there's no introduction sequences for any of the characters, and it's just reintroductions, the plot just lazily or rapidly goes from plot point to plot point without really anything involved except for them arguing with each other over melodrama. That's why it's like... I just want to skip through the latter half of the movie because there's just nothing to it. It's just an empty remake. I think 2009 is much better than it. I think that's unfortunately the best of that iteration. Because I'm not going to go through Beyond right now. I don't fucking remember any of that. I don't think I've ever even seen Star Trek Beyond all the way through. It's so boring. Because we've already seen... This iteration of Star Trek is bad. It's just pure bad. There's nothing fun about it. It's annoying. And I want it to go to bed now. We don't need the same remakes over and over again. It's time to stop. And what was it that we were going to talk about from the beginning again? There was something that I wanted to mention that was going to round it all out to finish it off.
No idea.
What was it? Because it was something about J.J. Abrams in the mystery box. Do you remember what it was?
You never told me, so I can't
Shit.
remember what you haven't told me.
Well, do you remember what I didn't tell you? That'd be very helpful.
No.
All right, give me a second.
Yeah, all we've discussed about this prior is what are we going to do tomorrow as the topic? Yeah, I don't know right now. Star Trek 2009, maybe? Star Trek Revival stuff. Sounds good.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all the conversation we had. That's all the prep work.
No, I was gonna say something though that was like related to all of this stuff, but I don't remember what it was.
It was going to be
I'm gonna
really
have to go back.
profound, and it was going to be this amazing
It was gonna be incredible.
speech.
It was
Going to make everyone realize that we should all support Glibinus Prime.
Glibinius
Is
Yeah.
the grand leader of the new Federation.
I'm the man of the hour, but the day and year, you know. Anyway, I really don't like Star
J.J.
Trek.
Abrams.
Yeah, but
I
I'm just
really
saying,
don't
if he
like
hired me-
J.J. Abrams, and I disapprove of his filmmaking style.
But if he wanted me to make his movies, I mean, I'd be his number one director. You know what I'm saying? No, I just I think we covered all of it. It's just unending disappointment when it comes to this franchise, and at this point, it's already tired out before it even had anything excellent. The characters and the cast already look like they're past their prime with it, and they didn't have. There's nothing that makes you go, "Yeah, these are the same people." They would have been better off if they had just made their own shit from the beginning. Just
Yeah.
make your own characters.
But obviously, you've got that brand recognition which they wanted, and from
Yeah,
the
but
very
it was a
beginning,
mistake.
with the new revival stuff, it was all just targeted towards general audiences. It was never going to be targeted towards the original fans of Star Trek.
Which was ridiculously stupid because the only reason why those old movies were popular was because they were good movies targeting the original fans. So it's a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, you shouldn't never ever try and replace your main income with someone else. Like it's your fans. There's what support you through like thick and thin. They're always going to be there to buy your merchandise, to watch your films, and if you cast them out to say, well, if we throw away our current audience and we replace them with more general audience, then we're going to make it more money. But oh no, it didn't make more money because the general audience kind of came and left very quickly.
right.
Because they by Into Darkness, they were just uninterested by the Star Trek revival, and then by Beyond, like none of the general audience were watching this. Not even the fans wanted to watch Beyond.
Shoot, I really had something that I was.
Make original shit. Is that the message of the day?
Actually, I want to play something.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna.
What if I do mind?
If you do mind, we're gonna have a problem. No.
What if I want you to instead look at this lovely, handsome man?
Oh, that'd be excellent. But I'm going to play. This. That's so funny. I love it.
Mr. No, the
can I
Into Darkness
share-
Klingons look worse.
Can I share audio?
Yeah,
Is that
you can.
possible?
If it's a Chrome tab, you can share audio.
Oh, it is
Or
a
you
Chrome
can,
tab.
if you're using Chrome, then you can share the entire screen without it echoing.
So will it play the audio from this?
Yeah, it should do. No, you need to select
play?
it specifically.
how do I
So
do
when
that?
you go to share screen, you need to press share screen, Chrome tab, share audio at the bottom. It's the little box you're gonna
Oh,
tick.
Chrome tab. Thank you so much. Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Boomer.
It's not a boomer. I don't use StreamYard. I use
You're a
Streamline.
boomer.
I use OBS like a real man. Okay.
Do their
You can hear it, right?
Yeah, you can hear it.
Hit it, Johnny.
Second star to the right. And straight on till morning.
Set a course. For home.
I'm reading an ion storm on that trajectory, sir. Should I go around it?
We can't be afraid of the wind, Ensign. Take us to Warp 4.
It is the unknown that defines our existence. We are constantly searching, not just for answers to our questions, but for new questions. We are explorers. We explore our lives, day by day. And we explore the galaxy, trying to expand the boundaries of our knowledge. And that is why I am here. Not to conquer you with weapons or with ideas, but to coexist and learn.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
So yeah, that's the essence of what Star Trek is all about, and it's completely missing from modern day Star Trek, and that's what I want to leave it on.
Yeah, especially if you look at things like Picard. As much as I shit on Voyager, even Voyager has more Star Trek at its heart than J.J. Abrams' Trek and Discovery in Picard.
It's all about Discovery, and ironically,
Next time-
the show called Discovery is not.
Next time on the Shiney and Glib show, we talk about Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Discovery.
Next time on the Shiney and Glib show, starring Glib with special guest Shiney.
Right, I've really got no better way to end it, and I don't know what we're going to be doing next week, but there will be another show next week. So
We're gonna
see you all then.
we're gonna do more trope talks, and we
Yes.
want to do more. We want to bring some people in. We're gonna talk about something else. We did Star Trek. Anybody have any suggestions? Join the Shiny Discord and suggest away. Thank you everybody for sticking through with us. That was pretty fun. It kind of fell apart at the end, but let's be honest. So did Star Trek Into Darkness.
Heyo.
Just like the Enterprise.
Is that it? Is that how you want to end it?
No, I want to end it like this. Engage.
That's not an ending.
Oh.
It's just saying engage is not a way to end a stream.
How do you want to end it?
No fucking clue.
What? Oh, jeez. This is so unprofessional. What's the Star Trek themed ending?
I don't know. disengage.
Disengage. No. What is it? What does he say?
I guess the Star Trek ending's always when they say something profound and then the ship like flies off like a panning shot, or it goes into warp.
These are the voyages of the
And
shiny.
it's always
ship
playing the music
Glib
like in Enterprise, you know, the da 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 da.
Here, we'll end it on.
We can end it on some kind of clip, I think maybe.
Well, that clip was good, but
Well, yeah.
Oh,
If you said you wanted to end it there, then we could just end it there. But now we can't end it there.
here I know
What about just look? I'll look up Archer's speech. How about that?
No, I want to end it on something specific.
Okay.
Alrighty. You ready?
Right. Yeah.
Here we go.
Are you gonna share it?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Okay. Bye. You still got the.
I believe Guinan does keep a limited supply of non-synthaholic products. Perhaps one of them would be to your liking.
What is it?
It is... It is... It is green.